Hi everybody, give me just a minute here. I am lining everything up. Okay, how are all of you? Hey everybody, my name is Mike. This is my YouTube page, Mox News. Thanks so much for tuning in. I guess no one wants to talk about impeachment tonight. Which is fine. We never talk about what my titles are anyways. Can you guys hear me okay? It looks like my sound is going out, but I don't know if you can hear me. I am doing this thing that I do, so you know. And I thought that we'd talk about impeachment for a minute. It's not really so much impeachment that I want to talk about as much as the Democrats. Thanks for you. Because the Democrats are kind of going crazy, right, with this whole impeachment thing. They're acting like, the Democrats are acting like, well, I have this clip. I'm going to play a clip here in a minute. But I have this clip of the Democrats. They held a press conference today explaining the articles of impeachment that they're going forward with. And they kept talking about their oath to the Constitution, and their oath to the Constitution is clearly is less valuable to them than toilet paper. So we're clear. I mean, I want to be real clear, is that their oath to the Constitution is meaningless from the day they get there. And I haven't, I mean, short of like Ron Paul or Tulsi Gabbard or Dennis Kucinich, who are always fighting, they're fighting the man, they're always fighting against, they want to bring the troops home. The man wants the troops all over the world forever. They want to bring the troops home. They're standing up. They're trying to do what's right. But these people, Nadler, Schiff, Pelosi, for them to somehow act like the oath to the Constitution means something after they've allowed, the CIA to spy on every single person in the country with their permission, after they've allowed, George W. Bush to start war based completely on lies, which we all know, and Barack Obama started war in Libya. These are true high crimes. And they do act like it's just nothing. Like, oh yeah, we gotta defend the Constitution. Bullshit. You could care less about the Constitution. Hello, caller.
Michael Knight, this is Dwayne. How's it going, buddy?
Hi, Dwayne. It's good to hear from you, man.
Hey, you're bang on right that spying on Americans is actually the real crime here.
It's not just Americans either, Dwayne. It's everyone around the world.
Oh yeah, for sure. How many lists are you on? I'm
All
on,
of them.
yeah, me too, buddy. And I was just thinking about you today. I watched a video by Steven Crowder, and he's talking about the purge on YouTube. And I'm just like, I just looked at Jane and I said, man, I hope they don't, go after Mike and,
I'm still here.
Good. So hold your breath for one more day, and we should be all in the clear on the 12th, right?
I don't know what the deal is, Dwayne. But I did you notice any sites get deleted today?
No, I haven't. Not personally. Not among my subscriptions.
Yeah, so I don't know that they deleted any sites today. I don't know that they're deleting any sites coming up. I just know that they're putting this new policy in place where they can delete basically anybody they want, which has always been the policy.
But this time they're saying it could be retroactive too, right?
I don't know what that means. I mean, I don't know what you mean by that.
They can go back in time, and if it was good 2 years ago, it might not be good now. They can still delete your channel because of it.
Oh yeah, well they've always been able to do that, Dwayne. I mean that's what the they I get copyright issues every single day on videos that are over a year old, Dwayne. So it's nothing new. It's nothing new. It's just but again, I haven't seen anybody get deleted. I haven't noticed that anybody got deleted. I noticed that I've lost a few subscribers. I lost about 50 subscribers in the last 72 hours or so. So there's something going on. They are deleting. Clearly, they're deleting some people, but they put a warning. They gave me like a warning saying that they're gonna delete a bunch of like fake subscribers or whatever. I don't think it's so much just to me. I think that was like a platform-wide warning. Your subscriptions may go down in the next few days.
Yeah. Look, these Democrats are just poo, man. They're just a steaming pile of poo. That stupid wacko lady running the Democrats, that Pelosi. Like, can you imagine? She does this impeachment thing, and then she says, "Oh, we're going to do MCA or
right,
USMCA
right.
now."
Yeah, I see that
because it's so unpopular. This impeachment.
Right.
The Democrats are going to get smoked in the next election. I hope Trump takes the White House and the Senate and the House, and that's the end of it.
Man, he was sure fired up tonight. You watch his speech tonight?
Yeah, of course I did.
Yeah, he was sure fired up tonight, right? He looked pretty pumped up, man.
Actually, it was kind of boring compared to most of his rallies. It just wasn't as raucous as usual. You know what I mean?
I thought they had the crowd going pretty good.
Okay, but I've seen it a lot more rowdy. Like that one in Minnesota he did like 2 months ago.
Yeah.
Now that was awesome.
Yeah, I think the Democrats are making a huge mistake, and they're it's like they're kind of basically saying you can choose us or you can choose Trump, and the people already hate the Democrats, and they're doing this shit as if it's some kind of look how bad he is. He's so bad. He's one of only 4 presidents to get impeached. That's how bad Donald Trump is. Right before the election, naturally. So it's this is all about the election, and I think they're making a huge mistake with it because I just think that they, like you're saying, they're desperate. They have nothing, and they're trying to act like he's a criminal who's guilty of high crimes, and it's just ridiculous compared to the last few presidents.
Yeah, no, like it's crazy. Like I haven't listened to NPR in about 2 months. I used to listen to it all the time on the way to and from work when I had my old job. And one thing NPR said, like. Even NPR, man, was saying, look, like what happened after they impeached Clinton is the Democrats absolutely smoked the House, kicked ass in the next election. So they were even warning people, don't impeach Trump because he's going to come back and his popularity is going to go up. He's going to win more. And you know what? I really think, honestly, even skewed CNN polls, nobody hates this guy for real. Like,
well, I really don't like him. I mean, I don't want to say I hate him, but I really don't like him. But the thing is that it's like you're saying though, when they say, look how bad this guy is, it's like, you know what? He doesn't seem like he's worse than the last 2 guys who you chose not to impeach, and so yeah, the American people are going to go, you know what? This is some bullshit, and they're going to rally behind the president, and I think it's just a huge mistake, Dwayne. I really.
Absolutely, and even NPR with the faggy voices they have was saying this 2 months ago. It's a bad idea. Don't do it. And that's NPR out of Michigan, man. Like, they were even telling people this is a big mistake. There's really nothing here, and hey, if Democrats get absolutely smoked in the House, all the better for the world, anyways. To a point. To a point.
I think it's good to have like a checks and balances kind of thing. You know what I mean? It's better, like they accomplish better that they accomplish nothing than that they're able to push through whatever war they want, whatever spying they want, whatever they want. You know what I mean?
Name one war that Trump started.
Well, wait until he gets reelected here, bro.
Yeah, okay. Name a war that Obama started.
Libya.
Name a war that Bush started. You can name a war that every one of those fucking guys started. You can't name a single one that Trump has started.
Yeah, but did Obama do Libya in his first term?
Hey, Jason Hayes, kiss my ass, buddy. You're a retarded Democrat for sure. Anyway, sorry, Mike. What did you say?
So Obama didn't invade Libya, didn't attack Libya until his reelection. Okay, so he was reelected before he invaded Libya. Okay.
Well, let's just hope that Iran doesn't, ship
Iran
some missiles to Hamas or something.
What are you talking about, Dwayne? You sound like fucking Sean Hannity, who I know you hate.
Well, no, I'm not a big fan of Hannity, no, but
Come on, dude.
I don't know.
We can't believe the bullshit, because it's coming from the president. That's like if I was to defend Obama on attacking Libya. I mean, there was reasons to go into Libya, but it's fucking bullshit, and you have to talk to Congress first. And it's just we can't support. Nobody wants. Are you telling me you want war with Iran, Dwayne? Because
No, of course not.
war with Iran. Well, don't act like it's somehow justified because they give fucking Hamas bottle rockets, man.
No, what I'm saying is, if that happens, you know what? Trump wouldn't even do that anyway.
If that happens, would you actually believe the intel? Because the intel on something like that is bullshit, which means it didn't happen. So why? So it's not happening. The war with Iran, and this is the thing that I'm most worried about Donald Trump is war with Iran. He put Bolton in there like he was gonna go to war.
Yeah, Bolton's gone.
Right? He's gone. He's gone.
Yeah, he's gone. He's nowhere near the White House. The Democrats are hoping to pay him money to come and testify against him. You know how much the Democrats would love to give Bolton a couple million of dollars to say, oh, yeah, Trump colluded with Ukraine now. Like, come on. It's that pathetic, man. You look at the best the Democrats have, they got Adam Schiff and Jerry Nadler. What a couple of classy-looking fucking losers they are, eh? And that's who's going to impeach the president? Nah, man. They should have just waited for the election and just hope that they've given.
I think Dwayne. I think they must be terrified that the election is going to come out not in their favor. Like maybe they might lose the House in the election or something.
Yep.
So they're like, oh, we got to do something, because if they lose the House, the Democrats are pretty much finished. I think, I don't know. It's just ridiculous.
Good. And maybe that's a way that we can get rid of the two-party system anyway, is to smash one of them completely out of existence, and then the other one is just going to have infighting and fall apart anyway.
Yeah, well, yeah. I think we just got...
And I'd rather smash the Democrats out of existence first than the Republicans, because at least Republicans have some decency left. Not much, but just a little bit, you know what I mean?
Not really. But I'm glad.
A lot of them at least.
Well, Dwayne, look, you know that there's fucking liberals who can make the same arguments about the Democrats, okay? And the facts are, it's a bullshit argument. There's no good on either side. They suck, they suck, they suck.
Well, the pipe dream of two parties, not existing anymore, and it's just going to be.
How about no parties? How about no parties at all?
It's not going to happen.
What about no parties, Dwayne? No parties. We just say we're not allowing there to be parties anymore. They're just candidates.
That's not going to happen.
Why? Why do we need parties?
It's never going to happen in your life or my life.
Why do we need parties? So that you know who to vote for.
I was born into this system.
You know who to vote for? Is that why we need parties? Because the founding fathers didn't think we needed parties. Okay.
Well, I don't vote for what my fucking parents say. I don't vote for what anyone tells me. I vote for
Well,
my conscience.
well, but
And
I
I
mean,
don't think killing a baby.
if you don't know who to vote for, and you see a little R by somebody's name or a little D by somebody's name, you're gonna pick the little R.
Who talks more sense, Don Lemonhead or Tucker Carlson?
Yeah, you
Like
know,
seriously,
Tucker
seriously,
Carlson
I
is
can't even watch
Tucker
that fucking CNN
Carlson
network.
is saying that marijuana needs to be illegal.
Okay, he's
Okay,
wrong on
so
that. I agree.
he's not talking sense. He's a
I agree
bought and
with
paid
that.
for
But like
person. It's
Tucker's
unfortunate.
90% right.
It'd be nice to
I
see
agree with you
somebody
on
we could
that.
count
I'll
on.
give you that. I'll totally give you that. I don't even care about weed.
I know you
Really.
don't,
But like you're absolutely right.
but you care
You
about
shouldn't be
freedom.
busted. You
The
shouldn't be
point
thrown
is
in jail for
freedom.
smoking dope.
Freedom. The point is freedom. Not that you shouldn't be busted. The point is freedom. The point is that we are adults and that we do not need to be babysat in a fucking free society. Okay, that's the point, Dwayne. And you know that's the fact because you argue with the government, anytime you feel like
Of
it.
course.
And
Of
you
course.
know that that's what they're doing. Doesn't matter if they're Republicans, conservatives, Democrats, liberals. They're all fucking babysitters. They're all like, oh, your freedom is dangerous, so we need to limit your freedom and your choices. So you better do what we say, or you're on the list. And you know
Yep,
that's who
that's
they
right.
all are.
That's right. That's right. And actually, some fucking guy that worked in the Bush White House the other day, it was all over Natural News yesterday. NaturalNews.com, Mike Adams. It was all over his website the other day. Some fucking Bush employee is saying that anti-vaxxer parents need to be sent to a concentration camp and re-educated, and their children, taken away from them and foster families.
And that's a Republican.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
Absolutely.
they're the same, and the Democrats will probably agree with that fucking piece of shit 100%.
Absolutely will.
Okay. So
Absolutely
they're the
will.
fucking same, Dwayne. And they
Like that crazy Nazi.
they're the same
Nazi,
in the fact.
Senator Pan.
Yeah. They're
That Senator Pan in California. He's a fucking Democrat, and he's the worst of them all when it comes to this big pharma vaccine stuff.
Yeah,
worst of the worst.
They're just the same. They just don't believe in freedom. This is the problem, Dwayne. This is like I keep saying. I say, which side is it again that's fighting for freedom? Because that's the side that I'm on, and neither one of them are doing that.
Like, okay, well, let me ask you your honest opinion. Chopping up a baby in the womb at 9.5 months, like 2 days before it's going to come out to sell the body parts on the open market. If the Republicans say no, that's not fucking right. Is that actually restricting freedom?
It has nothing to do with you, Dwayne. Why do you want to stick your nose into people's business? Okay.
Oh, that's what all those stupid fucking feminazis
No, that's
say.
what
keep your hands off my uterus.
Look,
or whatever.
man, I will never be making that decision, which is a conscious choice of mine. Okay? And I'm not going to put myself in a position where I have to make that kind of a choice. Okay?
If you met a 30-year-old hottie that loved you to pieces.
What?
A 30-year-old hottie that loved you to pieces.
Yeah.
And you ended up knocking her up, man.
I'm not knocking anybody up, dude. I've had lots of girls, and I haven't knocked anybody up. Okay? I'm not going to do that. It's a completely unnecessary move.
Man, and she said, I want a baby.
Well, then you better go find someone else, baby. Because you ain't going to get a baby from me, baby. That's what I told my fucking 16-year-old. Okay, I had this high school sweetheart, and she was 16, and she was fucking unbelievable, man. We'd go to the fucking drive-in. She'd bake a chocolate cake from scratch before we go to the drive-in. I'd sit at the drive-in, and I'd fucking have homemade chocolate cake, and take bong hits, and make out with this 16-year-old that was fucking totally anything I want. And I said, look, you're about babies. I'm not about babies. I can't make babies. Okay, I knew at 16. I'm not going to do that. It's unacceptable for me. So, it's just not an option, man. I'm no interest. So again, if you don't want an abortion, if you don't like abortions, you don't have abortions. Okay, I don't want to limit people's freedom. Okay, again,
that's not freedom for a fucking slut to to do that at 9.5
Okay,
months.
look,
Not for
not
me.
like you say, 9.5 months, which is a ridiculous number to start with, but I'm not. I don't want to say, oh, it's okay up to this time, or it's not okay past this time. It has nothing to do with me. Why you think it has something to do with you? A medical procedure that is incredibly personal and incredibly is going to lead. It's going to stay with that person for the rest of their lives. Why
Because
you
it's a
think it has
money
something to
racket.
do with you is
Planned
something
Parenthood
I
shouldn't be
do
making
not
money.
understand.
Planned Parenthood shouldn't be making money off selling baby body parts to Pepsi Cola,
Well, then make
to
that
the
illegal.
vaccine industry.
Make that illegal. That should be illegal. Someone
It is
having
illegal,
someone
but they're
having
still
to
doing
have
it.
someone having to have a procedure that has, I mean, I don't want anything to do with it. I don't want anything to do with saying what is okay and what's not okay when you need to see the doctor. Okay, I fucking hate doctors to start with, and I just don't,
Yeah.
and I mean, it's not. It doesn't involve me, and it's such a hard decision to start with. I don't know why anyone would want to make it more difficult. I mean, I get your argument, okay, and I don't think baby parts should be sold because that seems kind of disgusting. They could be given to other babies who need baby parts, but I don't think that they should be sold by any means.
That's not what they're doing with it,
Yeah.
and you know that.
No, I
It's
don't
in the
know. It's
MMR
not.
vaccine.
This isn't my realm of expertise, Dwayne. I don't
Yeah.
know what's going on. I haven't watched the Project Veritas on this. I'm really.
You haven't?
I watched a little tiny bit of it. I'm really not interested. It's a horrible argument that one side uses to fucking get these people who have big hearts and really care about other people on their side. And that's all that argument is for. That's all that the politicians, that's all they use it for. They don't give a fuck. They're just exactly like me. They don't give a fuck. Okay? That has nothing to do with me. I don't give a fuck. But you know what? I can get all these votes if I say that I'm against it. And it's guaranteed votes. So I'm going to go get all those guaranteed votes because otherwise I would be a shitty politician.
Yeah, but it's guaranteed votes on the other side with the people that say chop them up. I'm an ugly bitch, and
my baby's gonna be ugly, and I don't want to look at it the rest of my life. So chop it up.
and these poor women get suckered into sleeping with these guys that don't give a fuck about them anyway.
Yeah,
and they just leave. And
yeah. Look, Dwayne, again, it's so complicated. Yeah. It's so complicated, and it's such a huge, life-changing decision that I don't want to make it more complicated or act like somehow I should have a say in that. Again, I don't want people telling me what I can or can't do with my body. I get it. But the selling thing that you're focused on, that you're trying the argument that you're making, that should certainly be illegal. I mean, that doesn't.
But that's the main business.
Because then it's kind of like a harvesting, and that's not okay.
Yeah.
Harvesting human. I don't like that when it's done to adults because they do it to adults in prisons in China. They harvest livers and kidneys.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't like that. So I don't like it when it's done with children either. So it should be illegal. Okay, but abortion. This medical procedure that is between a woman and whatever, and it's life changing, and it's such a huge dramatic thing. I try to avoid drama as much as I can. Okay, that's a big part of why I don't have a girlfriend, Dwayne. It's not because
then you should watch the Project Veritas video.
No, I shouldn't.
Fucking abortion clinics are actually
I don't want anything.
What's really happening.
No,
man.
It's fucking look. I don't want anything to do with it. And it's put there to push your buttons, okay? To push your buttons so that you become a Republican. You think that the Republicans are different. They are not different. There would be none
of it if there was no money involved, Mike. There would be none of it if there was no money involved. You can't.
This is what I keep saying about war, Dwayne. This is what exact same I keep saying about war, okay? So I get it. But like I said, I don't want anything to do with the choice thing. But if you want to say that it should be illegal to sell that, I agree. I agree. To sell the outcome of an abortion, it should be completely illegal. I agree 110%.
Yeah.
Okay?
Hey, man, you know, like, I don't know, I even got off on this, but you could tell I was just pumped up, eh? I watched Trump
Well,
and,
no, you got off on it because I'm talking about how fucking Democrats and Republicans are the
yeah,
same.
that's true, that's
And
true,
you're like,
but,
you're like, no, no, no. And the only
well, New
reason that you
York,
feel that way is because of this one argument. And I'm telling you that they feel exactly the way I do. They don't give a fuck, but they know they can get your vote
well,
by
then
saying
what
that
the
they
hell is going
do.
on? Then you tell me the difference between, you know, New York and Mississippi, where they got heartbeat bills in Mississippi. If it's got a heartbeat and a doctor can measure it, no abortion. New York says, you know,
No,
she's dilating, rip it out and kill it, man. Like, what a difference.
Dwayne, again, I said I
2,000 killings it takes.
understand your side. I understand why you
Yep.
feel the way that you do about, you're this big-hearted people who care about the little babies, okay? Care about the little babies. We care so much about the little babies. Ugh. That's why there's so many fucking hungry little babies in the world, Dwayne, because so many people care so much about them. So you know. But
Oh, there's hungry people on the streets in your city, man.
yeah, of course
You
there
know
are.
that aren't babies.
Because
So,
we're focused.
oh
Because
man,
Dwayne, okay, you hear what I'm
yeah.
saying, okay?
Yo,
I'm not
I
trying to
do.
put you
I
down.
do.
I'm not trying to put you down. I'm trying to
No,
say
I get it.
this argument is just fucking it's I get where you're coming from. Like I said, the big-hearted, caring about the kids, all that. I get it, and I know you have the kids and you care so much and you fight to try and help other people know what you believe is right. I get it, okay? I fight for freedom, okay, and you know that. And I don't want people selling baby parts because that's again like it's like you're
Good.
harvesting babies. But I don't want to say that you can't have I don't want to get involved in this medical procedure. The medical procedure is fine. The selling the baby parts seems pretty fucking wrong. So because then people will be having babies so they can sell the fucking baby parts. That's
That's
wrong.
what they're doing.
Right. That's what I'm telling you. That's wrong. Okay.
That's
So
exactly what's going on, man.
okay.
But anyway, you know, it's good to talk to you. I like raising controversial shit with you. I don't care. That
I don't
Jason
care. I
Hayes in
don't
the
care
chat
yet.
room is
I'm just trying to make sure that I'm not. I'm not trying to say that I'm right or anything. I'm just trying to say that I don't want to make it more complicated for these people who are having to make this horrible decision in the first place.
I don't think they're making a horrible decision. I think they're making it. They're trying to solve an irresponsible mistake.
Of course you think they're making a horrible decision. That's what you keep saying. It's a horrible
They're
choice
trying to
that
fix
you're
an
making.
irresponsible mistake.
You
Condoms suck.
keep.
I agree, but like seriously,
What?
man, like.
Okay, look, I don't like condoms. I don't use condoms, and I don't want anything to do with condoms either. Okay, condoms are for people who are like fucking sluts. But again,
Yep.
I don't have a baby. Okay, I never have had a baby. I'm not going to ever have a baby. And like I said, I've been with lots of girls. I'm not interested in that. So I'm very careful about that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So
different world.
it's a priority. As I always say, a man has to have priorities. Okay, that is a huge priority for me. It's like the last thing I want is to end my childhood. And that's what a baby does.
Yeah, sorta. You know, like sorta. You never grow old anyway, unless you're. I don't know. It keeps me young, actually. You know. I don't look 42, man. You'd look at me and think I'm 30, no problem. No questions asked. And, I don't have a gray hair on my body, man.
That's awesome, Dwayne. I never had a gray hair until Craig introduced me to his son.
What?
That's the
Really?
truth. Yeah, I never had a single gray hair, and then I met Craig's son. And then everything changed.
But, yeah, man, it's so fucking divided. We're never coming back from this divide, man. Nothing's
Well,
going to unite us.
if we banned all the parties, then it wouldn't be this separation of Republicans and Democrats. You wouldn't have this
That's such a
fucking
pipe dream, though. Like
what?
seriously.
But look, Dwayne, we're in this place where we have to dream, and we have to dream big for a better tomorrow. Because the last thing we want to do is keep acting like this somehow. Maybe it's going to work one of these days, because it's not. It's obvious it's not going to, and we have to find the quickest solution to heading a better direction. And I think this is pretty obvious. We ban all the political parties, and we just, everybody's just Americans, and Americans vote on this day. That sounds very fucking patriotic to me.
I don't vote for the major parties here.
I know you don't,
I never
Dwayne.
have.
I know.
And you know what? My votes never fucking mattered anyway.
I get it. I hear you.
So it's good to actually know both sides of the argument. In my opinion, it's always good to actually know who both sides are. It's just more interesting to listen to Fox, and it's kind of like, what are they fucking doing when you listen to CNN?
Well, all that I see, I just see politics all day long right now, and it's just, I think, I don't think that that's really why people turn to the news. I think that people turn to the news maybe for a little bit of politics. Oh, this is what happened in the Capitol today. But mostly they want to know what's going on everywhere, and if anything is happening that's interesting in the world. And all they want to talk about on the fucking news is politics, politics, politics. And that's the reason why Fox News seems a little bit different, is because Fox News actually is doing news where they're talking about stories that happened about this and stories that happened about that. But the CNN and the MSNBC is just all day just politics, politics, politics. It's horrible.
And just this impeachment thing, it's a complete joke, though. Like, Democrats don't know what they're fucking doing, man.
Democrats are desperate. I think they're desperate, and they're trying to do whatever they can to make it work.
Yep. And you know what? It's not going to work. It's going to be Trump 2020, 4 more years, and they're just going to... I'm investing in fucking antidepressants. I'm going to take all the money I got,
in Big Pharma,
and I'm going to go fucking buy stock in whoever produces Zoloft and Paxil, man, because there's going to be a whole bunch of fucking retarded libtards that are going to go absolutely crazy next November. I am doing that. I'm going to take all my money.
You know what, Dwayne?
I'm going to make a fucking fortune.
I think either way, it's probably a pretty good investment. Big Pharma is probably a pretty good investment. They seem to have
and I hate those fucking people.
Their clutches in
people making vaccines and all that.
Yeah, and they got their clutches into your children, man. They got the government saying your children, that Big Pharma owns your children. It's only just a matter of days now before Big Pharma can fucking medicate your kids because they're acting out in class. See,
and the good thing is I'm a homeschooler.
Yeah.
So we can keep the kids away from there, because they even passed laws in Ontario where, if my son feels like he's going to be a girl, if I say, no, that's not normal, you can't be a girl, they'll fucking take my kids away in Ontario.
Well, I don't get
and
that.
They're setting that all up through the schools. Man.
Yeah.
All it takes is one fucking union teacher, because the unions are all fucked up. We have a big teacher strike going now in Ontario.
Well.
And they say, oh, it's because of the... Doug Ford cuts, and the Conservatives are cutting education. You know what? Teachers fucking strike. It doesn't matter what party's in power.
They do. They strike all the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's because I think they don't. I don't know. I've always heard that they just don't get paid properly, right?
Of course they do. They should pay teachers based on the performance of the kids. That'll show you which fucking teachers want to be teachers or not.
Well, won't that just greenlight the teachers to give the kids good grades?
No, because they have standardized testing in Ontario where they actually test these kids.
Oh, well, I think I don't know. I think that it seems to me, Dwayne, that the schools are run down and undersupplied, and that the teachers are underpaid and actually bringing supplies to the schools so that the kids can actually have supplies that they need to be able to do the work that they need in order to learn math and reading and this kind of thing. And that seems like a pretty good, if that's what's true, then that seems like a pretty good reason for teachers to be striking all the time.
Well, how's it much worse than 3 years ago? Every 3 years. Every 3 years they get this
This is what
fucking
I'm saying
contract.
is all
And
over.
they're striking again and again and again. And they always get a raise, okay?
Right. They
They
put a
don't
little
stand up
they
for
put a little
parental rights.
band-aid on it, and then go ahead.
Well, they don't stand up for parental rights, that's for sure.
I don't,
And,
I don't understand that. I think it's really short-sighted, but maybe there's a lot of awfully crazy parents out there or something, Dwayne.
like the Ontario teachers want $7 billion in raises this year.
Wow.
And they're on strike starting tomorrow.
Wow. That's a lot.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a lot,
$7 billion.
That's a lot, dude.
And the Ontario teachers are the second highest paid of any jurisdiction in North America. I think it's, what was it, Saskatchewan was the only ones that were higher in Canada and the United States. So Ontario has the second highest fucking teacher pay in all states and all provinces. And all the students here are failing fucking math. At what grades, Jane? 3 and 8? Like, no matter what, they can't do fucking math? Nah, these teachers' unions suck ass, man.
Yeah.
Unions were supposed to be there to protect workers who were being abused by employers. Like real workers. Like steel workers. Like auto workers. Not public sector fucking unions, man. We got to get rid of public sector unions. That'd be a great idea. That would lower deficits in every province, every state, every country on this planet. Anyway. Oh. I was just screaming at teachers on a local news feed out of Toronto on YouTube earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah. And because I'm homeschooling, you know how much it costs per child in Ontario for one seat in the public schools? Like, what was it, $7,000 per child? It was almost $10,000. Now I got 6 children.
Yeah. Well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Times 7,000.
Yeah.
Okay. That's $42,000 a year.
Yeah.
That's how much I'm saving the fucking taxpayer. So I tell these teachers that. Oh my God, they don't like it, man. They don't like that. They don't like the teachers. The teachers hate those comments. And then this stupid idiot that actually, the big dumbass, six-pack Joe, prove that. How can you save that much money? I'm like, you idiot. And then one of these teachers called me a boomer.
Yeah,
like,
wow. That's crazy, man. That's crazy.
Read the fucking post. I said in my household, I'm saving the taxpayers $42,000 a year. If you homeschool, it doesn't cost nearly that much. I don't have to put up with these shitty ass union workers. I don't have to worry about forced vaccinations.
No, you seem to have pretty good control of the situation, considering the police state that we live in.
Yeah. It seems like it. As long as I keep my children out of the school system where they have all their CPS people, they have all these fucking weirdo teachers that want to teach them about, my son can be a girl and stuff like that. Nah, at least I don't have to worry about that demented side of the teaching profession. I'd send my children back to public school if they said they're going to teach them math and science, and not that there's 3 genders.
Yeah, well, I think you're far better off with them out of the public school, dude. So screw that idea.
For sure. And it's wonderful. It really is great having your children at home. My wife teaches them all day.
Yeah.
Even the public school teachers put out all the curriculum online anyways.
Yeah. I mean, you could teach them as fast as you want. A lot of the colleges do that too, You can get a lot of college education just from online.
Yeah. Some of these people in your comment section are really fucked up. This is Jason Hayes, man. If I ever saw him, I'd smash him in the head.
Hey, Dwayne, I got somebody trying to get through.
Hey, bless you, Mike, and you have a great day, okay?
Tell Jane I said hi.
I will.
Okay.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks for calling, Dwayne. It's always good to hear from Dwayne. He's our Great White North, our brother to the Great White North. Let's see. So, and someone was just calling. I think it was Michael. Yeah, it's Michael.
Call.
Hello, caller.
We have to eat the babies, Dwayne, to solve unemployment. We have to eat the babies.
Don't eat the babies.
We have to eat the babies.
Don't eat the babies.
Especially the Canadian babies. We have to eat the Canadian babies most of all.
Don't eat the babies.
You know why they call people boneheads? It's because they got these skulls that are like 3 inches thick and this little tiny pea brain, you know, and it's like you're a bonehead.
I can never remember a joke, right? I cannot tell a joke without just completely butchering it, right? But I got all these dead baby jokes in my head. And every time Dwayne calls, I want to do dead baby jokes. But they're like really demented, you know? And I don't want to be like, oh, guidelines violation. And of course, that's probably why I remember them, because they're severely demented, like, oh, yeah, that sounds like me.
Don't eat the babies.
Don't eat the babies.
Jesus Christ. Now, I love Dwayne so much. I really do. And I understand his confusion about the abortion issue. But I think, without knowing, I would guess that maybe you and me are on the same page as abortion, whereas we consider it to be the most difficult and the most divisive issue politically. More than war, more than taxes, more than homosexuality, more than anything I can think of, the abortion issue on a political level is the most divisive and difficult to solve. So it's not that I'm in favor of abortion. It's just that I'm more in favor of understanding that a woman has the right to choose. And so then where do you define the beginning of life?
Well, then how do you feel about the selling of the baby parts after the abortion?
Well, before I get to that, when a baby is born, see, my sister runs Kaiser Permanente maternity ward, right? She delivers about 30 babies a night on a slow night, right? So it's a baby factory.
Yeah.
And I've had girlfriends that were midwives, new age midwives, and they'll set up the crystals and the candles and the hot water jacuzzi, and they'll the soft music and the sage, and okay, just bite down on this, it's going to be okay, and they'll deliver 3 babies a year, right? So I'm getting the whole birth issue from both sides of the spectrum, from the midwife, new age midwife, which I know very well, and the baby factory, which I hear about, but I've never actually seen the baby factory with my own eyes, except for when my own kid was born. So when a baby's born, the baby comes out of a woman's vagina, and they set it on the mama's belly, if they have a halfway smart a person, a nurse, halfway smart nurse, and then they snip that cord, right? That goes, the umbilical cord, it goes to the placenta. But you have all those white blood cells and all the T cells and all of the juice that's still flowing from the placenta to the baby for a good 10, 15, maybe as much as 30 minutes after birth. So the longer you can wait to cut that cord, the more pumped up your baby's immune system is going to be. And this is documented medically, that a baby that has the umbilical cord snipped right away is going to have a weaker immune system than the baby that, you take it out, you put it on its mama's belly, and you just let everything happen. Usually the baby will crawl right up the mama's belly and start sucking, and cry a bit. You clear the mucus out of the throat, and then it'll crawl up the belly and start sucking on the mama's tit. And the heart of the baby is literally an inch away from the heart of the mother. And that is an energetic thing, which I can't fully put into words, but your heart the human heart is essentially very similar to a second brain, and anybody who knows about that stuff will agree with me, that when the heart of the baby is right next to the heart of the mother, and the mother might be exhausted, but she'll sit there and she's so proud, and she just gave birth, did this tremendous thing. She passed a watermelon through her nostril, essentially. And so all of that good juice is flowing through the umbilical cord and strengthening the baby and strengthening the baby. Now, I don't know anything about vitamin K shots. Maybe some of the women listening do know about that. I don't know if they're good or bad. I think they might be good. But the point is, we don't know. Stem cells are in that umbilical cord. That's what's going into the baby, stem cells. And that's what's in the placenta, and that's what's in the umbilical cord. And you and me, we remember when George Bush put the stymie on, well, we've got 17 cultures of stem cells, and that's all we're going to do because I'm a born-again Christian, even though I just killed 1 million people in Iraq. And so, George Bush Jr. stymied the stem cell research to the amount of stem cells that were already in the laboratories. I'm sure you probably remember that political event, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't like to chop up babies, and I don't think they should be added as flavor to Coke. And I'm right on board with Dwayne that that's a satanic practice, and you don't want to. We got rabbis selling foreskin on the black market. You got all kinds of crooked shit. But to me, so I'm not in favor of that. I am in favor of stem cell research. The medical results from stem cells being used for cancer purposes is just off the charts.
I'm all for research. I'm not for, harvesting and selling of baby parts,
Or human parts, really.
Yeah, or human parts. I made that clear to Dwayne, too.
Yeah,
about, prisoners in fucking China and shit.
Right, or, Palestinians in Israel.
Yeah, yeah, that happens a lot in Israel, too, from what I hear.
Yeah, we're on the same page. It's like we value human life, and for me, the difficult question is, when does human life start? And I would make a guess at, not being a scientist, just being a dumb fuck hippie, I would make a guess, and people are going to disagree with me, I would make a guess that human life begins between 5 and 8 weeks. So I'm totally against third trimester abortions. That's murder to me. See, Dwayne, you're not such a dummy, okay? You're on the right page on that one. And second trimester abortions, I'm really squeegee about it, but it's such a difficult political decision, and we're not even talking about it. People are bringing the Bible into it and all kinds of crap that doesn't belong into a scientific discussion of, But no, I'm not for unconscious people chopping up babies in their second and third trimester. These are living creatures with eyes, gender, only 2 genders, even though Dwayne probably thinks there's 27 genders, but I think there's only 2. And, they got fingers and penises and brains and lungs and, so these are people that happen to be in their mommy's womb, and mommy, is me and Dwayne on the same page? Yeah, mommy made a bad decision to get an abortion in the second or third trimester, okay? But Dwayne made a bad decision to have 6 fucking children at the age of 42. He's a child. He's just like I was.
It seems like it's better than having them at the age of 60.
Yeah, well, that's why I'm in favor of men doing the little snippy snip on their ball sack so they don't get women pregnant in the first place, and you solve the whole issue. The entire issue would be moot if men would just take responsibility.
It should just become mandatory.
I don't know. Are you jiving me?
Yes! I fucking hate... Don't stay the fuck away from my balls.
I will. Trust me, I will. But, no, it's the... I can't think of any more divisive issue. It's been going back and forth since the 1920s. Roe v. Wade was 73, I think. I'm in favor of Roe v. Wade, but then you got here, see, Dwayne, I'm on your side on this one. You got all these libtards. I'll use the word libtards, or feminists that they want you to be able to have an abortion in the 9th month, and I don't think that's right. I don't think it's right in the 6th month. I don't think it's right in the 5th month. I don't think it's right in the 4th month.
Okay,
but
I just want to be clear. Okay, I don't care. Okay, I mean, I don't know. I don't want to be involved in the situation. It's a horrible thing, and I don't know why anyone wants to make it more complicated. Okay, and for you to boil it down to somebody, was fucking whoring around and got pregnant is pretty fucked up, because all kinds of people get pregnant in all different kinds of situations, and I'm just saying that it has nothing to do with me, and I don't get why you want to act like you have something to say about it.
Me personally, or everybody?
You just got done saying 5 months, 6 months. I mean, it's like.
But those are the details of the argument. If you want to explain the argument, you got to have details.
Yeah, no, you're right. I get the details. I'm just saying, I don't know how we went from fucking impeachment to abortion. It's like the title of this is "Let's Talk About Impeachment," and Dwayne's trying to talk, and the way Dwayne started talking about abortion is because he has to support Republicans, and the only reason that Dwayne supports Republicans is because he thinks that they're different from the Democrats because they care about abortion.
The reason that Dwayne has opinions at all is because he's watching the puppet show. He thinks it's real. He thinks, the Republicans don't have abortions. Every motherfucking Republican senator's got a mistress that had 6 abortions. Dwayne, you meathead. So it's not a Republican-Democrat issue. They're just puppets dancing. Throw away the Republicans and the Democrats, please, people, and realize it's all a puppet show.
Yeah.
There's no difference between Republicans and Democrats.
They're just talking to different suckers.
Yeah, and I'm sorry to bring the Dwayne word back up, but he really thinks that the puppet show is real. And you know what? It's not that Dwayne doesn't have valid opinions. He does, and he.
I don't think he thinks it's real. I just somehow thinks he just buys into that somehow the Republicans, he identifies with them better, and it's all about this abortion thing, man.
It's all about Jesus. It's all about Jesus for Dwayne. It really is.
Probably is. He seems like a pretty religious guy.
And that's cool, but you know what? If Dwayne was my neighbor, he would turn me into the fucking county or call the cops on me. I know it.
For what? For growing weed?
What?
For growing weed?
For whatever. It doesn't matter what they call the authorities on you. It's like Dwayne thinks that he is lower than the cops. Dwayne thinks he's lower than a senator. And I think that I am the equal of any man on earth. And that's the difference between me and Dwayne, is I claim my sovereignty every fucking day. And if I'm wrong, I'll admit it. And if I'm right, I'm going to stick to my guns, because I'm a sovereign human being on planet Earth. And on planet Earth, we got difficult situations that sometimes aren't really cut and dry, and they're hard to figure out. And I think abortion is the hardest one politically to figure out.
Right.
So,
I mean, compared to impeachment, it seems pretty like off the charts impossible to figure out, as where this impeachment thing is just fucking, idiocracy,
Right. I mean, yeah. I mean, this would probably be the last time I talk to you about abortion, the first and the last time. But there's a reason they call people boneheads. I would really love to see Dwayne open his eyes and realize, and what the fuck is a Canadian talking so much about American politics for? You don't vote, Dwayne. You eat Canadian bacon, dude. Jesus fucking Christ.
He loves Trump. He loves Trump, and he believes that the Trump economy has made it so that he has gotten a new job and has had other job opportunities, and that the whole community is booming because of the Trump economy. So,
well, that's a lie.
I don't see it myself. I don't see it myself.
And besides that, supporting the pharmaceutical industry is an anti-Christ perspective in my book.
Well, he really doesn't. He doesn't support them. He just wants to make money off the sheep that are big enough suckers to
Well, he's
act like they need that.
He's in the medical industry, isn't he?
I don't think so. I don't think he might be, but I don't think he is.
Well, I think I heard him say one time he was something to do with the medical industry or something like that.
Well, no, Drunk Pete works with Big Pharma.
Oh no, Dwayne's in the food industry. That's right. Yeah, he makes sure your food is safe somehow. I don't know what he does, but anyways, I'm not banging on Dwayne.
Yeah, okay? I know.
I was laying in bed listening to you guys, and it was such a you're so right on with everything you say, and he's so fucking blinded by the puppet show that please people wake up, and you too, Dwayne. Okay, don't be a bonehead. It's a puppet show, and it's not us and them. Listen to Pink Floyd, the song "Us and Them," and after all, we're only ordinary men. Just listen to the lyrics of that song, and you realize that Roger Waters, he put his finger on the pulse of insanity and said, hey, we're all the same and we're fighting over stupid shit and it's time we wake up. That's the basic message of the song by Pink Floyd, Us and Them.
That's Dark Side of the Moon, right?
Dark Side of the Moon,
yeah.
Us and Them, yeah. And so, if we stop... We've gone over this 5, 6, 10 times already, that if we stop fighting each other and identify the enemy, we'll have a leg up on making the world a better place. And
see, I really think that I think this idea of ending all political parties and just on election day Americans vote, not Democrats and Republicans, just Americans vote on election day, right? And we end all Republican all parties, there are no political parties. I think that's a very patriotic idea, because then it's not separating Americans into these little groups. It's Americans that are voting, not fucking Republicans, not fucking Democrats, because personally, I don't want anything to do with fucking Republicans and fucking Democrats. I do not want to stand in the line so I can fucking vote for fucking turd sandwich and giant douche. It doesn't appeal to me at all. But if I was standing in line to vote with other Americans, to vote for Americans, I think that seems like a very patriotic idea, doesn't it? Don't you think?
Yes, I'm totally in favor of a complete overhaul of the American political and voting system. But you look at England, and they got the Labour Party and the Conservative Party. They got the same damn problem.
Yeah. Yeah. So Canada too. Canada has the same thing.
Well, I thought Dwayne said that they got 5 parties up there.
No, they have at least 5 parties in Canada, but they have other parties in Great Britain also besides Labour and whatever and
the only ones I hear about is Labour and Conservative.
Right, because it's the same way. It's like here we have more than 2 parties, but the only ones you hear about are Republicans and Democrats.
And the other ones don't even get on the TV. You never see independents on the debates. You never see the Communist Party on the debates. You never see the Green Party on the debates.
The Libertarians, you never see the people that are actually caring about freedom in the debates, because if we actually showed people that were caring about freedom, it would make the other people look bad.
Half the citizens don't even know there's other parties besides Dems and Repubs. It's like, God, I mean everybody... we can't... One rule that I live by is never underestimate the stupidity of human beings. So when people tell me, whether they're New Age people or whatever, they say, oh, the world is changing, the world is waking up, and I go, oh, you fucking clown. The world is not changing, the world is not waking up. Because half of the people still believe in the system that has been fucking them since Grandpa Moses was alive, you know? It's such a... I don't want to be all down on the intellect on the American intellect, but goddamn, there's oceans of stupid people. I see dead people. Eat the babies, Dwayne. Eat the babies, Dwayne.
Right. Well, I think that, I don't think we should be down on people that you might consider to be stupid, because it's this programming and again, the government letting us all down, because I think that I think there's just so much of this shit that goes on from the time we're little. And I think we're pretty lucky that any of us come out sane, honestly. The way this society is so screwed up, dude.
I've heard you rightly correct Dwayne. Easy 5 or 10 times.
And everybody else. And anybody
else who needs correcting. And I trust your political sense, Michael. But you don't seem to be very successful at deprogramming him in particular, because he still keeps going on with the puppet show rhetoric.
The programming is incredibly deep inset. Okay, it's been going on since he was 3 years old. You can't expect that I can deprogram him in fucking 7 days, but at the same time, you see him come to agreement with me again and again, and you see him, and he supports me. The guy literally, says, I'm kicking down money for pizza, or if it's been 2 weeks, he's like, don't worry, dude, I got pizza money coming for you. He's I correct him continuously, like you're saying. So it's not like he's not, growing. It's just that
don't confuse Dwayne's generosity with him waking up, because that's a very ingrained, opinionated person who, first of all, if you got 6 kids at 42, you're fucked till you're about 70, dude. You're fucked. You're
not fucked if that's what you want, is to raise children for the next 20, 30 years.
Yeah, but how good of a parent... I had an asshole dad, okay? My dad was an idiot, a moron, and an asshole, and a dumb fucking Italian Catholic conservative, right? And I was the black sheep. I couldn't do anything right. I shouldn't be playing rock and roll. I should tuck my shirt in. I should cut my hair. I should go off to Vietnam. Fuck that shit. I'm old enough and mature enough and honest enough to say my dad was a dumb fucking idiot, okay? And I don't want anybody's kids to have to look back at their father and say, my dad was a dumb fucking idiot. Most of us do, but, be a good father. Just be a good father. And that means self-examination. You gotta examine your ideals. What do you believe in? Is this a good ideal? Do I really... am I believing in something that is true? Is it true that the Republicans are better than the Democrats? Is it true that gay people...
Look. It's not a matter if they're better. The question is, which side is it that's fighting for your freedom? Which side is it that's trying to protect your freedom? Okay, that's what really matters. It's not a matter of one side being better than the other. And neither side is doing that. So They're this fucking same. All they do is act like your freedom, which they take a vow. And this is again about the impeachment thing. They keep talking about the vow to the Constitution. They take a vow to the Constitution to protect the Constitution against all foreign and domestic enemies. And that means protecting. That means protecting your rights and your freedom that's enshrined in the Constitution. And for some reason, every day when they go to work, they act like your freedom is a threat to them.
Well, George Carlin said it best. It's a big club, and you're not in it. So anyone who believes that Feinstein or Trump or any of those douchebags up there are actually acting in your interests in most circumstance, you're mind controlled. They had rich, smart men sitting in private rooms 50 years ago figuring out how to mind fuck you and your children.
Which is why I keep talking about this programming thing. You know,
Right, yeah.
Again, they're figuring out how to mind fuck your children, and it's a lot more than 50 years ago. It's probably closer to 70 or 80 years ago or whatever, when they were institutionalizing this as what we're going to be in America. And
it was Bernays, and it was 1920, so it's 100 years, dude.
Yeah. It's so ingrained, and this is why I keep, you talk about stupid people and this and that, the people are, and you say negative things, and I'm just like, this programming thing is so ingrained from the time they're little, and so you have to cut them slack. Okay, I mean, it's a crazy, fucked up world to start with. From the time they're little, they're told, oh, this is bad, that's bad. Everything that fucking is nice and fun and feels good. I love running naked after my bath. Oh, that's bad. You can't do that. But whatever. It's just one thing after another that's, fitting you into this fucking square peg. And it's not just the society, it's your parents, because your parents have been programmed from the fucking society, and so you have to cut people slack. You have to understand the programming that's gone on from the time they're little tiny children until this last moment where you just came in contact with them, because that's how long the programming lasts, and that's how long it goes on every single moment of every single fucking day, which if you watch They Live, the movie They Live, John Carpenter, you'll see that the programming's all around you all day long. Okay, so you have to try and cut them slack at every fucking opportunity, man. Because otherwise you become this jaded person who just thinks that everybody's fucking shit. And I get it.
No, I don't think everybody's shit. I mean, you're right. I take your words to heart. I should be more gentle.
Everyone should be more understanding. It's not a matter of being more gentle. You just have to understand. It's not that they're stupid. It's that they've been programmed from the time they're little to be what it is that they are at this moment. And to fight the programming takes so much more than so many people actually have the ability to do, because they're so fucking busy and wound up and running every second of every day from the time, again, that they're fucking 12 years old. It's like, oh, I got a schedule.
Well, this is the Mox News online deprogramming course, in a sense. It's because we keep hammering these valid points home over and over and over, and everybody's got their perspective. That's cool, but I think the first thing is recognize that the government's not your friend. They're not acting in your interests. They haven't been acting into your interests before you were born. They're not doing it now. So wake up. It's a puppet show. And if they could, they would completely enslave you and not even give a second thought about it. The movie V, that movie V about,
V for Vendetta. V for Vendetta.
V for Vendetta, right. That's a pretty good movie, because you see this government psyop program fooling everybody, and this superhero with a mask on.
At the beginning of the movie, he blows up a statue, which is like it's like the Statue of Justice or something in Great Britain, and you have to understand, this movie was scheduled to come out just shortly after the attacks on September 11th. Right, it was scheduled long before that to come out, just shortly after the attacks of September 11th. And after the attacks of September 11th, they postponed the release of the movie for 2 years. Okay, wow. and get this. Okay, there's like a statue that V blows up right at the beginning of the movie. and it's like this. It's like the statue of justice, right? And, you know, the blind with the weighing the scales and stuff. And he blows that up right at the beginning of the movie. And then the police are talking about what's going on and all the chatter that's going on in the city, you know, because they're constantly monitoring everyone. And they're talking about the chatter, and they're saying that we've let out to all the outlets that it was an emergency demolition that was why we had to, you know, to bring down the so and so, you know. And I fucking almost bit my tongue off when I watched it, like just recently, because I didn't remember that from earlier, you know. But emergency demolition, you know, and it's like, it's such a good movie. I highly recommend it to anyone who hasn't seen it. If you haven't seen it for a while, I watch it, you know, a couple times a year at least.
Yeah, and they take over a television station, a government-run television station, to try to get the news out to the public, you know. Mm-hmm. And it seems like that's what is kind of necessary now, because all the news is run basically by the government, by proxy anyways. So, you know, yeah, it's a great movie. I love the movie. I love the premise. It was a real subversive thing. Guy Fawkes was 18-something, I forget the year, but they caught him, and he never blew anything up. But he was trying to blow up the UK Parliament, the British Parliament, and the movie is a sci-fi version of a real event that was stopped. But the point, this is why Anonymous and Occupy Wall Street love the movie V for Vendetta, is because it kind of symbolizes what we all want to do. We want to blow up these corrupt institutions that were founded on a lie. And that's what's in the movie, is that this 1984 government and Big Brother guy, the whole system that came in, the PNAC, the Project for the New American Century, and the Homeland Security was what came in on a lie, and they got the same principle in that movie, that government, the fictional government, came in on a lie, and it gets exposed in the end, and the people jump up and participate. It's a great movie. Of course, I haven't seen it in 10 years, but
well, you should watch it again. It's really good. I mean, it's a worthy. I always, like I said, I watch it a couple times a year. It's a very, very good movie. I think it's inspiring the kind of a revolutionary spirit, like you said, to Occupy and
5th of November, right?
Yeah, remember the 5th of November.
Right. Yeah. So and Dwayne, if you haven't seen that movie, see the movie. That's where the people break the puppet show. Okay. So I mean, whoever's listening, just don't buy into the puppet show. There's no right. There's no left. There
is a right and a left, but they're talking. There's no difference between them. They're just talking to different people. You know?
No matter if you feed, no matter which head you feed on a two-headed snake, it poops out the same asshole. You know, so I mean, really. I mean, I've broken free of what I used to think was my government is working hard behind the scenes to fix everything, and I realized no, my government is working hard to fuck everything up and make me a mental prisoner, a spiritual prisoner, a financial prisoner,
a slave,
physical prisoner,
a slave.
Yeah, I mean. I am Spartacus. What can I say?
And it's both sides that are fighting for that. That's what they want. I mean, they've worked and worked and worked to bring us to where we are now. It's not one side that did it all. It's not the other side that did it all. It's both sides working hand in hand to bring us right to this moment, and which clearly shows they have absolutely no respect for the people and don't represent the people in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, well, I know that, you know that, and we're in tricky times, so we got to really rise up intellectually, spiritually. We got to keep our bodies alive, smoke a little dope, make yourself happy. Don't forget how to dance. That's pretty important. When's the last time everybody danced? I used to be the best dancer in my fucking town, and I haven't really danced for a couple of years now, but I haven't forgotten, Just, be a real human being, not a fucking wooden human being,
That's what I'm saying about the understanding. Real human beings understand. I mean, you don't want to sell people short. You don't want to, act like, again, that everybody's shit. I know that's not what you're doing. I'm just saying to everyone. I mean, we get in this mindset, or a lot of people do, where I hate everyone. I don't want anything to do with anyone. And I don't get anything from me, and it's just fuck that, okay? That's part of the programming. The truth is that there's something good right in front of you to enjoy, and don't let the fucking programming get to you. Just take a breath and look around and find what it is for you to enjoy that's right in front of you, and enjoy that, okay? Because that's what life is really meant to be, enjoying what's right in front of you.
Yeah, well, that poem, I think it's called Invictus, and it was in that movie about the ex-president of South Africa. I can't remember his name. He was thrown into prison for like 20 years or something
Mandela?
like that. Yeah, Mandela, yeah. And there's a movie with a famous actor, and it's called Invictus, and the last line of the poem, it's a famous poem. It might be William Blake or somebody, I don't know. But it says, and I am the captain of my soul, And so that's what we all have to remember, is that we're all the captains of our own soul. No matter what life throws at you, no matter what evil people throw at you, no matter what your government, which is filled with evil people, throws at you, you're still the captain of your soul. No matter how hard it is, don't give up your soul,
And that's the same thing about your freedom. Okay, these people try and take your freedom away and try and take it away and take it away little bits at a time. But you don't have to give up your freedom. Okay, and by that I mean you don't have to say no to the government. No, you're not taking my freedom. You say fuck the government. I don't care what they say. I know I'm an adult. I know what's right. I'm going to do what I want to do. Okay?
There is no spoon. There is no spoon. You don't have to bend the spoon. There is no spoon. The government has no right under God to rule you. The word government itself means to rule the mind, rule of the mind. And religion, the word religion means to rebind, kind of like re-enslave, rebind you to something, the pole of worship, So, etymology is a wonderful thing, and I'm not the best etymologist, but all of these words that we use, we should really research where they came from, because I simply refuse to be a slave. And I've been beat down to my last fucking drop of blood. I've been mind fucked so hard and gotten up so many times and then beaten down again that at this point in my life, I simply refuse to ever bow down, most especially, to anybody, but most especially to a crooked person that's trying to gaslight me or tell me I'm nothing or enslave me or charge me false fees or telling me I'm doing something wrong. I know when I'm doing something wrong. I don't need nobody else to tell me that. I'm not a slave.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Just don't give up your freedom. Because it's because they can't take it from you. That's the whole point. They'll act like they can take it from you, but they can't take it from you. My whole life, they said you can't smoke marijuana. Really, really, and that's because you were the boss of me, and I think it's a very bad idea. You tell people you can't do that. I mean, that's one of those things. You tell me you can't do that. You can't cross that line right there. The first thing I'm going to do is put my toe over that fucking line.
Okay? Right? Yeah, me too.
So don't give up your freedom, and know that you don't have to. So
you're a pirate, Michael.
Yeah, I know.
Eat the babies, Michael.
Don't eat the babies.
We have to solve unemployment. Eat the babies.
Don't eat the babies.
All right. Well, I'm going to go lay down again, but that was such a brutal conversation between you and Dwayne. I had to get up and dial your number one more time. Okay. You said DJ on the line.
Okay, it's good to hear from you.
See you later, babe.
Bye. And that's our buddy Michael in Southern California. And I know Chris is trying to get through. I hear you, Chris. I hear you, Chris. I hear you, Chris. Hey, there's Chris. No, that's not Chris. Who is this?
Take this call.
Hello, caller.
Hey.
Hey, who's this?
How's it going?
It's good.
Hey, my name's Ram.
Ram, hey Ram, it's nice to hear from you. Thanks for calling.
I just wanted to just pick your brain on some things.
Sure.
And have a good conversation. Is that cool?
Yeah.
Cool. So is the government a good thing or a bad thing?
I think that government has the potential to be a good thing, in helping the downtrodden. The quality of the phone call, and that sort of thing. Making sure that the roads are taken care of, that we have proper infrastructure, that sort of thing. But I think that overall, if you have a government that's making endless wars based on lies.
Oh my God, I love what you're saying about the endless war. I've been just thinking about how long we've been in a war for 19 years.
18 going on 19.
$7 trillion.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Go ahead. No, it's all good. It's all. I think that's the number that they're telling us, but I think that the real number is probably about twice that, honestly.
Oh wow. And what do you think about the death count? I saw 300,000. It has to be more than that, right?
The national debt?
No, the death count.
Oh, the death count.
The war. Yeah.
We use the number here regularly. That's 1 million dead Iraqis, and then they say 4,000 plus Americans died in Iraq, and I think there's 6,000 plus in Afghanistan, and but that doesn't count when they come home and then they fucking kill themselves, because 20 veterans a day kill themselves.
For sure.
So and that number is far more than the number that have actually died in theater. And then there's the contractors, which are I should say contractors. I'm putting it in quotes since I know you're behind on the video.
The government employees.
No. Contractors. That's what they call them. And what they actually, the real name of a contractor is a mercenary, someone who goes into a fucking war zone to make money. Okay, there's soldiers and then there's mercenaries. Okay, and the government has twice as many fucking contractors as they do soldiers in Afghanistan right now, and I think probably even 3 or 4 times as many contractors as soldiers in Iraq.
So do you think these contractors go into a war zone and they fight our war for us, or what are these contractors doing? Because I don't really know. I'm curious.
They're used to protect a lot of different things, like a lot of infrastructure type things, like an electrical plant or something like that.
Like a private security more than
basically they're used like private security. They protect a lot of dignitaries. They protect if Congress people go over there, usually they'll have a number of contractors working with them. The CIA, I believe, is the biggest employer of contractors in the theater.
And how many do you think contractors died?
Right now in theater, I think there's probably 25,000, 30,000 in Afghanistan, and I probably 10,000 plus in Iraq.
And why do you think the American people, after 19 years, I don't know how long it's been, but have capitulated to the government and allowed us to continue fighting a useless war? What is it like? How do we allow this? How have we allowed this for so long?
I think that the American people have gone into the streets. American people and people around the world have gone into the streets again and again, saying, "Don't do the war, stop the war," and the government doesn't listen. I think that.
Do you think Donald Trump is actually slowing down? I mean, from what I've seen, it seems like he's slowing down the war effort. I don't think he's. I really don't like Donald Trump. But I think he has slowed down the war in some sense.
I think that he's making it look like he's trying to take troops out of Syria. He's making it look like he's trying to pull troops out of Afghanistan and kind of simmer things. He's making it look like he's trying to negotiate a way out of Afghanistan. I don't know that that's true. I think that it's, again, theater. But the really important thing about what Donald Trump is doing with the military is that he's shipping more and more and more soldiers over to the Middle East, which only looks like he's preparing for something. So
he's ramping up more than you think he's actually. It's a farce. What he's saying. What they're saying.
It seems like he would be very pleased with the war in Iran. I believe that he would be very happy about starting a war. And the problem with that is that the war in Iran isn't like a war with Iraq or Afghanistan. A war in Iran is going to be a war with China and Russia, and it's going to be giant. And the thing about and Iran, to start with, has a real fucking army. You know, I mean, they've been training. Saddam was like a paper tiger. You know what I mean? He made it look like he had shit. He fucking boasted about having shit. He didn't have anything. But his troops just dropped their guns and ran. But
so do you think if Iraq and do you think China would back? Oh, Iraq. Sorry. Do you think China and Russia would back Iraq?
Iran.
Oh, Iran. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, they would. They do a lot of business with Iran. Like China, I think, is the number one importer of Iranian oil. So, So I think that it would involve China. I really do. I know that Russia is already very involved in Iran militarily. They buy a lot of weapons. Iran buys a lot of weapons from Russia, which means that there's a lot of Russian soldiers in Iran. I think that when Syria called for help, that Russia actually moved more stuff into Iran to try and as a staging place to get it into Syria. So I think the military there are probably pretty heavily involved.
So I'm an American, but say I don't want to participate in a war effort. Is there a way to really be a sovereign citizen, to be somebody who just doesn't want to participate in the actions that America is participating in? Do we just have to?
I think if you speak out, and let people know, either however it is that you speak out, whether it be on YouTube or whatever, there's lots of different platforms for you to speak out. I think if you speak out, then you're making clear that you're not supporting the war effort, and that's pretty much the most anyone can do. And I've asked people again and again to please go on your Facebook, go on the YouTube, and make a video explaining that you don't support the war effort. Because, like I said, if there's 1 million dead Iraqis, which is the number that we use on this show regularly, which is the number that Dennis Kucinich used to use when he was a congressman all the time, 1 million dead Iraqis. If there's 1 million dead Iraqis, there's going to be a giant blowback. Okay, and that I think that Americans, I've met a few Iraqis, and I literally have apologized to them with tears in my eyes, because and I think that if Americans go on whatever their social media is and just make the statement that I can no longer support this war effort. Not that I ever did, but this has just gone on long enough, and it's clearly based on lies and about some evil rich people becoming more rich. I can no longer do this. I think that if there was a wave of people like that would go a long way to heal what's wrong, what's broken, what was been broken by the military-industrial complex. Go ahead.
Yeah. Do you think that just recently, I don't know, for some reason recently it just feels like it's become such more into the American consciousness, this endless war, it just seems like it just really has started to come back into our sights. Do you think there's a reason for that?
I think I honestly believe it's because of the push for war with Iran. I see, just a couple months ago, we saw like, oh, Iran's attacking oil tankers, and oh, Iran is doing this, and Iran's being hostile, and we have to do something about Iran. I think the American people see this fucking drums of war, so to speak, being banged by the mainstream media, and that raises the consciousness of them going, no more fucking war, I think that's kind of what the response is. So hopefully we will see a whole big rise in consciousness of no more fucking war, because that's what we really need, is no more fucking war. We could do we have to start fucking preparing a 21st century infrastructure instead of using this fucking 19th century infrastructure if we ever want America to be great again. It's the infrastructure that made America great, and for whatever reason, they act like that's the last fucking thing on the list. I'm
so sick of these endless wars, and I'm sick of our crumbling infrastructure. I'm sick of the lack of focus on the future, and it's amazing our warlike mindset that especially the elite and the leaders get into, because they want to keep their money, they want to keep their power, they want to keep their oil, whatever it is, and
there must be giant like briefcases or suitcases of cash kickbacks that they get, in order to portray the fucking American people into war for fucking a full generation. We fucking won World War II in like 3 years, and now we went over to Afghanistan to fight people, quote, living in caves and mud huts. And we have to fucking fight them for 20 fucking years? Give me a break.
Yeah. What are we doing there? What are we doing? It makes me so sad.
Protecting the opium fields. I understand there's a huge deposit of lithium mines there. So there's like a lot of lithium that's being moved out of fucking Afghanistan. But the opium seems to be, the poppy fields seem to be a big part of it,
Isn't it amazing that we don't dig our own country for resources, but we love to make sure that we can take resources out of other countries? It seems like we took the colonialism of the 18th century and morphed it into a 21st century endeavor with our military, doesn't it? I don't know.
I think that's a good analogy. I think it's this whole project for a new American century thing. These people like Jeb Bush and John Bolton, they got together and formalized that if they could have a new Pearl Harbor type event, right, that they could start a war anywhere they wanted, and that could expand that war, giving them a never-ending, endless war and the opportunity to profiteer off that never-ending, endless war, and make it, again, building the military-industrial complex and making America great again, I
don't know. Have you watched the Eisenhower speech lately? Or you probably have.
Yeah, I haven't watched it in a while. Yeah, where he warns about the military-industrial complex. Yeah. Is that Eisenhower? Yeah, go ahead.
It was Eisenhower. Yeah, I just watched it like this morning, and something about it just really, he hits it right on the head. It's like we invented this thing to protect us in World War II, and after World War II, and we just didn't. We allowed it to morph and become, this megalith that rules our country in some sense. But
it seems like a vampire that has its teeth sunk deep inside us, for sure.
Yeah. What do you think China is going to do? And I'm just wondering about China.
Well, if we continue down the war path, I don't think China has any other option but to prepare for war. right? Because all we do is keep expanding the war, keep making the war, wars in Africa is getting bigger, war, everywhere war, and we just keep expanding our footprint around the world. So, what other choice did China have? They're preparing for war. I don't think they want war. I think that there would be, I think all China really wants is just to have this economic boom around the world where they just trade with everyone and just get massive amounts of money like they've been able to do with the United States. I think that's what they really, really want, and then that'll give them plenty of money to spend on war or whatever. But I just think, have you ever seen, like, in China they have like these whole like regions where it's just factories that are devoted to manufacturing this one thing, right?
Yeah, like in Shenzhen.
Yeah.
Whatever,
I keep thinking, like, if they had something like that and it was just devoted to manufacturing drones, right? And they just keep just pumping out drones, like fucking these, drones that drop bombs and shit. And they just keep pumping out these drones, and they have like these fucking ships, these giant ships that they put the drones in, right? They could just fucking launch drone after drone after drone after drone, and it would be really, really ugly.
Yeah,
I would be really surprised if China isn't preparing something exactly like that.
I've definitely seen news articles and definitely read a lot about it. Definitely and watched YouTube videos about China and the Communist Party and how they're ramping up their effort for more nationalism. And it definitely seems like China is. I don't know if they're taking a defensive posture or if they're taking an offensive posture, but it's definitely something to be concerned about globally. I would love that if, it seems like Donald Trump is not the right person to have in office at the moment. I think somebody who'd be willing to talk peace and who'd be, willing to talk, love, I think would be way better than, and free trade. And free trade would be so much better,
Like Tulsi Gabbard. Do you know Tulsi Gabbard?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, I think Tulsi Gabbard is. She talks about love, and she talks about ending these wars, and she talks about aloha spirit and stuff. If I could talk to her, that's one of the things I would talk to her a lot about is the aloha spirit, and I know that she would love to talk about that. So I'm gonna have to try and get her on the fucking Skype or something.
That'd be amazing.
Yeah.
One last question before I go. So would you how do you feel about libertarianism, and would you consider yourself a libertarianism? I'm not, but I feel like sometimes I can be.
Well, yeah, I have, like I've said again and again on the show, is that I'm with the party that fights for freedom, and which, is that the Democrats or the Republicans? I can't remember, because it's not either one of them, I'm with the party that fights for freedom, and the closest thing to that I've fucking seen in America is the Libertarian Party. So I wouldn't call myself a registered libertarian, but I would say that I probably, sway that way more than any of the other choices, because I'm not. I'm about freedom, man. That's what this work from day one has been about. Is about opening people's eyes, recognizing who the real enemy is, and who the real threat to your personal freedom is. Because it ain't fucking China, it ain't fucking Russia, and it ain't ISIS. It's the motherfuckers in Washington, D.C. and your local governments that do everything they can to restrain your personal freedom. And that's the fact, Jack.
Amen. Amen. All right. Well, it was really nice talking to you.
Yeah, man. What's your name again?
Rom.
Rom. Hey, Rom. It's really nice to talk to you, too.
All right. Have a nice day or a nice night.
We're doing this we're doing this every Monday through Friday at 7 p.m. Pacific, so I hope we hear from you again sometime, okay?
Oh, yeah, I'll definitely call in again. All right, thanks for the chat.
Bye. Okay, thank you. What a nice guy.
So you need to press 1 to take this
pressing call. 1. Bitch, I hate that. Hello?
Hey, this is Dave calling. How you been, man?
Hey, Dave. I am doing okay. How are you doing?
Oh, pretty good. I was tuned in a little earlier with that guy from Canada and all that stuff, and I kind of had to feel like I had to call in.
Okay. Go ahead.
This whole talk about, like, the evil Democrats and evil Republicans, it's 100% true. In a way, it's like, follow the money. If people are taking money from big corporations because of the citizen decision, those people are going to give favors to those corporations, and those corporations are trying to screw us out of money and make themselves rich.
Right. I just saw like a bio of Pete Buttigieg, and he's been doing, I guess, legal counseling for big pharma and for the military-industrial complex. So we know whose side he's actually on.
Yeah, I was actually pretty impressed until I researched him, and he's taken more money from he's had the most number of billionaires donate to his campaign out of anyone who's left. Pulling over 1% in the primary right now. So if you're after, like, any kind of clean sort of government, that he is definitely not your dude.
No,
though got a good face maybe, but
he's one of those status quo guys. He's a gatekeeper. He wants to keep everything just the way it is.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm more of a Bernie, Tulsa, Warren kind of person. I think kind of in that order personally, but really, if you want to get down to it, it's still about that money. And, if you look at the Justice Democrats, where you got, like, AOC, who hasn't taken any money in one election, and there's at least 3 or 4 other women who are kind of in that same boat, and, that's the way to go. I know that guy, that let's say, kind of sub-party or caucus or whatever probably came out of, like, the TYT circle, but, they ran, like, a lot more candidates than just the 4 popular ones in state elections, and so I think that's the way to go if you're looking for, more of a clean government. And some of the comments earlier about, like, how, that guy in Canada who's got 6 kids who's, like, thinking he'd have to pay $47,000 or whatever a year to send his kids to school. That's not coming out of his paycheck. That's coming out of his city, maybe his federal or his Canadian, national government kind of thing. It's like society pays for our children, because in the end of the day, society pays taxes for the baby boomers to, retire on. They pay taxes for their children to go to school on. It's not like he's got to, pay us $47,000 to get his kids to go to school.
No, his point was that he's saving the taxpayers that much money. It was $7,000 a year per child, so he's saving the taxpayers $42,000 a year.
Yeah,
by homeschooling.
The kids are missing out on, like, socializing with kids their age, or they're probably missing out on a good science education where they get to play with, and learn chemistry and maybe some, genetic stuff these days, which they do teach in school.
He's a chemist. I think he has a degree in chemistry. So, they might not be missing out on that stuff. And we don't know what they're missing out on socialize-wise. And the facts are, from the minute I got put into public schools, I felt like I was being pounded down and twisted into this thing that was forced to behave and forced to be something that I wasn't. And I think, it's admirable, honestly, to try and teach your kids at home because you don't like what they're teaching in the schools. I think that's very admirable, honestly.
Yeah, I guess each your own. Like, like you're talking about personal freedom, I'm with you on that. I mean, definitely a person who believes in the Constitution myself as well. So.
Yeah. I mean, that's what it's supposed to be about. That's what this country is supposed. We all, the land of the free and the home of the brave, and the politicians. And the reason that we're talking about this right now is because these Democrats, they come up and they talk, they go and they release the articles of impeachment, and they hold a press conference and they explain why they have to do this to this president, impeach this president, and they say because we took an oath to the Constitution. And the last 2 presidents clearly, horribly violated the Constitution. And pretty much all these people that are standing at the microphone talking about the oath, the sacred vow that they took to the Constitution, they were there then too, and it's pretty disgusting that they want to act like they actually care about the vow when it suits them. It's like people who use the Bible when it suits them.
I absolutely agree. I mean, they just passed the Patriot Act again.
Right.
They gave Trump those powers, and they say they hate them, but it's That's bullshit. To me, that's complete bullshit.
Right.
And, it's like, you want to stop people like that, you probably need to get rid of Nancy Pelosi.
Which
you probably need to get...
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
And you probably need to get rid of Chuck Schumer, because, he's just doing the same thing as all the other corporate Democrats. Really, it shouldn't be like, everyone should look at, like, both parties as, like, Democrat, Republicans. There's a corporate Democrats, there's a corporate Republicans.
Right.
And then maybe there's some of both that don't take all that money and aren't, a hold to their master, that aren't trying to keep us in slavery and sell us out for their own personal gain.
Right. I agree. I think that's spot on right there. And that's what I keep saying is again, my idea is that we ban all political parties. So it's just on election day, it's Americans voting for Americans. I think that sounds very patriotic, as opposed to, Democrats voting for Democrats and Republicans voting for Republicans. It's just Americans. It's almost like it would, you know what I mean? It seems like a very patriotic idea to me.
Ranked choice voting, I think, is a way to go to really fix that problem, because, then you can choose kind of the best candidate and not the party.
Yeah.
And that will really, eliminate that. Like in Iceland, they've got the pirate party. They've got, like, all these things they've never heard of before. And it's because of ranked choice voting. It's 100% ranked choice voting. Like New York City, it's been ranked choice voting. So we should see some really good things out of there, hopefully, at some point, now that they don't have to just vote, Democrat or Republican based upon, if they're for guns and abortion, or
Right.
they're for,
Right.
schools and infrastructure or whatever.
Right. I hear you. That's the reason why I want to ban these parties, because they seem to break it down that way. Is that the Republicans are against abortion, so we have to be Republicans. It's just, and it's not that the senator who's a Republican personal opinion is that all abortion should be banned because of Jesus or whatever. It's that if I fucking say that all abortion should be banned, then I'll get all this whole voting block. They'll have nowhere else to go but me. And what smart politician wouldn't do that?
There's a verse in Numbers in the Bible that says if your wife cheats on you, to have her scrape the dust off the tabernacle floor and put it in her tea, and if she has a miscarriage, then it was God's will. So I don't even know where the church came up with the idea that abortion was somehow against, Jesus or something. Jesus never said anything about that. As far as my research has looked into, I don't know where they get this.
Yeah, no, I've heard that too. That there's at least one passage in the Bible that talks about your wife having sex with someone else and getting pregnant, and how to effectively take care of that.
With stoning as well, but it's just awful. That's just awful. I mean, that's so gross.
Yeah.
Can't even think of it.
Yeah, no, I don't, again, I don't want to talk about abortion. It just boils down to this thing where it's like, this is why I keep saying it. The Democrats and the Republicans are the same. They're not fighting for freedom. Right? And that's why I'm so offended when they talk about the oath that they take to the Constitution. But they're the same. They're just talking to different suckers, So the Democrats talk to these suckers by saying, oh, well, protect your abortion rights. And the Republicans say, we'll fight to stop abortion. And you just lock people in. There's nowhere else for them to go. And it's fucking complete and utter bullshit.
Yep, the Bible says life begins at birth as well. So, I mean, I think it's really the church that's kind of maybe misled. Let's say to quote their flock. But yeah, I don't really like the topic either. In fact, I hate the topic.
Yeah, well, it's often, the reason that the church doesn't want it, it's like you said, to increase their flock. I mean, if you have everybody who's, not having children, as opposed to everybody's required to have children, then and they're born into Catholicism, then you have a built-in fucking never-ending fucking stream of revenue, right?
Yeah, yep, that's very true. And this war, I actually heard the United States has been in war in pretty much our entire history, except for like 4 or 5 years. We've been in some kind of war, or quote conflict, which is basically war.
Yeah.
They just don't call it war, so we don't have to report it on the newspapers as such.
Right. No, I think that's probably pretty close to true. I don't know how many years it was, but But war's a racket, and it's and there's a huge industry that's involved in profiting off of that racket, and the government seems to be deeply, deeply entrenched in that. So, for whatever reason,
the last budget resolution they passed before Trump got in office, I think Democrats got a provision in there that said you have to keep the military and the domestic spending at a equal level. And just recently they voted to remove that provision so they could increase military spending again. And now the United States is spending more on the military industrial complex in wars around the world, like fighting dudes in huts and mud caves in Afghanistan or wherever. And we're spending more in war than we're spending on our own country. That is ridiculous. What are we doing?
This is the plan. Again, it's a racket. It makes rich people more rich, and it gives them something else. It gives rich people something else. When the people say we want universal health care, the government says, "Oh well, we wish we could do that, but we've been at war for so many years that we just can't afford to do that now. Oh, we wish that we could build the infrastructure, but we'll put a Band-Aid on it for now because we're at war. You understand that we're at war, right?" And that's the whole idea, is to fucking drain the treasury of every penny they can to make scumbag rich people who make money off of fucking every drop of blood that's spilled in the Middle East, in Africa, all around the world. And the Republicans and the Democrats are waist deep involved in it. Every single politician, and that's why they're just so disgusting and represent none of us.
Yeah, I mean, no taxation without representation. As I grew up in New Hampshire, and that was one of our key phrases. But it seems like I don't feel like people either they just can't afford to go protest because they're living paycheck to paycheck, or they're stuck in the TV being, advertised to buy Tide or something.
Look, we did this under Obama. Under Obama, we didn't just go protest, and we did it under George W. Bush. Under George W. Bush, we went out on the street and we protested the wars in Iraq. Okay, we protest before the war started. Don't do a war in Iraq. It's all based on lies. We protested during the war, and then it just kind of stopped. And then Obama came along, and we thought we were going to get something different, and we didn't. And before the re-election of Obama, the people went into the streets, okay? And they didn't just go into the streets to do a little march down the center of town. They went into the streets, and they stayed in the streets under the Occupy Wall Street movement. And it wasn't just in New York. It was all across the country, in every fucking town. And it did no good. And you know what happened? Those people who stood up in the proud American tradition and went into the streets and demanded the change they were promised by the Barack Obama government, they were labeled potential terrorist threat. Yep. And then so I think this is what's happened a lot to the protest movement. Is that people don't want to get, their picture taken and it says potential terrorist underneath it,
Yeah, I mean, thanks, Obama, but
right?
Like, he was not a liberal. He stood up and he pretended to be one to be elected.
Right.
And then everyone who really knew anything about him or researched him knew he was a conservative. And I really, really wish we could get one more liberal, like FDR, just one more time.
Yeah.
Really, their social programs fixed. If it wasn't for Reagan taking down the top tax bracket from 70-something% down to 35, we would have enough money for everything we want to do in terms of healthcare and infrastructure and schools. It's so ridiculous now with all these contractors. It's I hear from people in the military all the time, they don't even do the jobs they're trained for anymore. They're just on guard duty.
Yeah.
All these contractors are doing the mechanical work. They're doing the electrical work. These people just stand around nowadays. There used to be a pathway. You go spend 4 years, you learn a job, maybe you dodge some bullets or stand at a post, and then you've got a skill. But now you get out, you don't even practice your skill, because just standing around being a babysitter, and they come out, and these people are all pissed off, and you see them all the time now joining the police, and fighting its war here in America with these surplus military gear they're handing out to every town.
Right.
It's do dude, what are we becoming? Like,
Major, it's a police state.
Illegal?
It's a police state. And the entire purpose, okay, Homeland Security was formed after 9/11 happened, and the entire purpose of Homeland Security was to take that surplus military gear and spread it out to all the local police departments and train them and prepare them for martial law. That's the entire purpose. Again, another organization that's supposed to protect the American people used just against them as if that somehow the American people are a threat to everyone. You know.
Yeah. Where's due process? They shoot you in the head. There's no due process there. Right. I would pay for my life.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
Right now they've got kids in cages, which I would call concentration camps on our border. They had a new report come out that said that the models show the Earth is going to rise 7 to 8 degrees, and if they were going to have mass animal die-off at 3 degrees, all the oxygen being sucked out of our ocean. Trump is giving nuclear technology to the Saudi Arabians, or whoever over there, UAE, who are willing to use it. They really don't seem to give a crap on who they attack. And these are the problems we have to focus on as, like, if we want a future. We're not going to have a future in 20 years if everything turns into a desert. You know, what are we going to do? If one nuclear bomb goes off, that's all the nuclear bombs in the world going to start flying around in defense. You know what I mean?
And honestly, the size of the nuclear bombs now, the explosion that it would cause, could one or two of them could completely send the world into a nuclear winter or whatever they call it, where there's the sun is just gone for days or months.
Yeah, so I don't know if people should start calling those people running the concentration camps on our borders Nazis or whatever word you want to use to talk about, putting people in cages, not giving medical help, making them drink out of water bowls, not giving them any kind of medical treatment, them getting sick, people dying, lying on floors for days before they're even noticed.
Yeah.
Like, we should be down there with, like, trucks, like, ramming these buildings down, tearing them apart, like, firing, maybe calling all the politicians, whatever we can think of, within our legal limits of not, doing everything up and getting thrown in jail ourselves.
I hear you. Go ahead.
What's going on, people? Wake up, America.
Yeah. Your name's Paul, is that right?
David.
David. Hey, David, it's really good to hear from you, man. You're spot on. I'm so glad that you're here and part of the conversation. I gotta take a break for a minute. So thanks a lot for calling. We're doing this every Monday through Friday at 7 p.m. Pacific. So I hope we hear back from you again soon. Okay.
Cool, man.
Thanks so much for calling. Bye. All right, guys. I gotta take a break for just a minute. So I'm gonna do this clip right here. I'll be right back.
We begin tonight with that deadly gun battle right outside New York City, killing a police officer and 3 innocent civilians trapped inside a store during the gunfight. The 2 suspects, the gunmen, are also dead tonight. SWAT teams in heavily armed vehicles rushing to the scene in Jersey City, New Jersey. Police moving through the streets. The attackers holed up in that supermarket, clearing the way for some of those bystanders outside to get out of harm's way. Some 30,000 children on lockdown for a time inside dozens of nearby schools. And tonight, that city already mourning that officer, a father of 5. ABC's Adrian Bankert leads us off from the scene tonight.
Tonight, a terrifying, deadly shootout on the streets of New Jersey. Heavily armed SWAT teams racing through the streets with guns drawn, 2 suspects unleashing a barrage of gunfire on officers.
Every time any approach is attempted or anyone comes out of cover, he opens fire.
The gunmen barricading themselves in the Jersey City supermarket, hostages trapped inside, innocent bystanders caught in the intense crossfire, thousands of rounds exchanged.
So we looked and then we saw all these cops running from the gunfire. We heard more. We heard like automatic weapons.
The neighborhood turning into a war zone. 1 officer was shot in the shoulder. 3 hostages were killed in the store, and another officer was also killed. He was a father of 5. 46 schools in the area were put on lockdown. 30,000 kids taking cover in their classrooms.
Have some kids out of the window.
Then I heard gunfire, boom, 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 and then after that, we just put our heads over our hands over our head.
The first shots rang out at 12:30 p.m. Early reports indicate that police suspect the shooting started as a drug deal gone bad. The suspects fleeing to that supermarket.
at this point, we have our officer down. We don't know how he was down, and a lot of officers out here out in the open.
The shootout lasted hours. A police helicopter and drone were seen overhead, officers scrambling on top of a roof to try and neutralize the shooters.
Yeah, I got movement at the door. I can see the gun.
SWAT teams rescuing this woman. Witnesses say she'd been trapped inside her car in the middle of the firefight. Then moments later, several more running for cover with their hands in the air. The shooters killed inside the store after a neighborhood was under siege for more than 4 hours. Tonight, the lockout just lifted. Children looking to reunite with their parents, shaken by the horrifying day.
Scary, nerve-wracking, ready to leave. I can't do it no more.
Adrian Bankert with us live on the scene tonight. And Adrian, police now believe the suspects stole a U-Haul at some point, and the bomb squad is now investigating?
Yes, David, a team is actually looking into whether that vehicle contained a possible incendiary device. They believe that that truck is part of the crime scene. We do have some good news for you tonight. That officer shot in the shoulder has already been released from the hospital. David.
All right, Adrian Bankert leading us off tonight. Adrian, thank you.
Hey, thanks for sticking around, everybody. Okay, so I wanted to play that clip because, again, I don't know if you heard like all the hundreds and hundreds of bullets being shot in that video clip, but clearly there's like kids around in the neighborhood, and there's hundreds and hundreds of bullets being shot. I don't know how many of them were by the cops.
Your caller just hung up. Goodbye.
I don't know how many of them were shot by the cops, but I know that there was clearly hundreds and hundreds of bullets shot in that clip, and there's, again, as I've said again and again and again, bullets travel. They said 30,000 kids went into lockdown on that. That's how many kids were. I don't know, the one kid they talked to, he was talking about they could hear the bullets, which means they're within range of the bullets, coming to them. And it's just, I don't know why cops think it's okay to just open fire like that in
I wanted to take this call.
In residential neighborhoods. Hello, caller.
Hey, what's going on, man?
I'm cool. How about you?
I'm doing good, bro.
Right on.
What? I'm sorry, what?
I said right on.
Oh, okay, yeah. I heard something about impeachment earlier, and I was wondering, like, your guys' opinions on, like, what Trump did to get, impeached, or what he, if you believe he should or not.
I think that the Democrats are making a huge mistake impeaching him. I think that they're desperate. I think that they're worried about the election outcome, and that this is just some type of an election ploy to say that, Trump is a criminal, and because of that, he doesn't deserve to be president. And that's all there is to it.
Yeah, I totally disagree with that. Like, they don't know what they're talking about. It's crazy because he's done nothing but good for the country and stood up for the country and its people. And honestly, like, fuck niggers, beat it down, fuck niggers, goddamn fucking nigger, hang all niggers, bro. Hang all the fucking niggers, nigga.
You didn't hang up yet. It's weird, huh?
No, I'm gonna stay on the line, so
Because you're not like embarrassed about what you just said. You just stopped talking.
Niggas are on the way, bro.
Oh yeah, I'm so afraid. Okay, we've got another
call.
Oops, your caller just hung up. Goodbye.
Chris, what are you doing, man? That's like the second time Chris hung up on me. I fucking went to answer the phone, and Chris hung up on me. Your caller just hung up. Chris. Okay, this is Chris.
You need to press 1.
I'm pressing 1, bitch! Hello, caller.
Hey, Mox, how are you doing?
Hi, Chris. I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm doing well, and I'm sorry about the confusion with the calls, but
it's all good.
I'm
just giving you a hard time.
No, I always have a tendency to like be the person who calls after that guy, and, or at least the last couple of nights have been like that. And it's interesting because sometimes I'm just kind of starstruck, and I think the dude's just going to hang up, right? And then he didn't hang up, so I was off a little. All right,
he just stops talking. He stops talking. There's like fucking silence for 30 seconds,
or at least shift the rant, or how about this? An apology? I don't know. But there were a lot of interesting things that were discussed tonight, and I guess, I have things I want to say about impeachment, but the thing off the top was, and I know you don't want to go there, but this discussion about kids and stuff, right?
About what?
And abortions.
About abortion? Yeah, go ahead.
Children, right?
Okay. It's just, it's not that I don't want to go there. Clearly, I'm willing to go there. It's just I don't. It's like I don't want to sound like somehow I have something to say about it because I don't have anything to do with abortion. I'm never going to have an abortion. It doesn't affect me at all.
I don't have. I mean, I've had partners who've had abortions. I have friends. Most of my friends have had abortions at some point who are women, and I have no qualms whatsoever with women making a conscious decision not to bring children into this world. Personally, that's my own feeling about it. But in regards to the discussion, I'm sometimes amazed at people who are against abortion, right? But they're also simultaneously against social services for the poor,
right.
And they're against education services for the poor. They hate teachers. They hate funding for schools. They don't like They don't even want to give children medicine. They want to cut food stamps. They call people losers and hosers and shit who are poor because they're poor, and then relish the fact that they get to suffer, and simultaneously they act like it's such a fucking special gift to bring people into this world where they get to be abused by the very same people who are bringing them into the world. Hey, man, that sounds really cool. And I see that a lot. So whether a woman wants to have a child or not is certainly her prerogative, but to not fund human services, human being the operative word there, right? Human fucking beings. To not fund those services while you're promoting people to have kids is utterly insane.
It's beyond insane. I mean, it's some kind of but again, it's this programming thing, man. I mean, I think that people get this shit from some crazy. I don't know. I don't know where they get this.
You know that when Hitler killed himself in the bunker, that he was with his propagandist and his wife and their 6 children that they had used for propaganda videos to encourage good white Christian Germans to have babies for the Reich, right?
Okay.
And at the end, when he went down and he killed himself and his girlfriend, they killed themselves. Before they killed themselves, Joseph Goebbels, and his wife, who was, because Hitler didn't have a wife, Goebbels' wife was used as a propaganda figure throughout the Reich. And the reason they used her is because she was whitey white, of course, and, all of that. But she also had these 6 beautiful children that they would use in propaganda videos to make it appear as though Germany was such a free and beautiful country, which it was. It was a very free country, and the people were beautiful, and the mountains were nice, and those 6 children were suicided by their parents. They gave them a glass of water and some pills, in the middle of the night before the bunker was raided by the Soviets, and they burned the bodies the next day.
Save
the children, right?
No, but these stories, okay, I see the same. I see the politicians today doing the same thing with their children. They march their children. And it's one of these things that I find really disgusting of politicians, right? Politicians, they go up on stage and they have to have all this security because they're under constant threat. And then they take their children and they put their children right in the center of that fucking bullseye. And that's, on to my opinion, and then they will talk about how important the children are. It's just fucking bullshit. That's how slimy politicians are. That if they're in harm's way to the point of having to have fucking all this security around them, and then they take their children and put them right in the center of that bullseye, that's how slimy. Just so that they can use them as propaganda to say, see, I'm one of you guys. I'm a breeder too. It's just not. I find it disgusting.
As props for political campaigns, right?
Yeah,
that is clearly disgusting, but that's as old as it gets, right? I mean, and even it's the beginning of the foundation of political dynasties. Because when you have your kids on the stage with you and your kids walking around the office, you know, they can tangentially use that to get into law school, and then they can tangentially use those connections to get a job in a law firm, and then they can become a politician and take over their parents' job. I mean, that's a normal track for people in America. I mean,
but what I wanted to say, the point that I wanted to make about what you're talking about suiciding the children and stuff, is that that's some kind of, I don't know that that's a real story. Okay, that's your typical war story. It's your typical war story. Okay, to try and vilify it.
Just like the genre of story, like the type of story.
Yeah,
like that's what happens in war.
Yeah, I mean, it's like when Trump supposedly killed this last fucking ISIS leader or whatever, right? They talked about how his children were with him in the end, and that he had a suicide vest on, and that he fucking blew up the suicide vest, killing his children with him, right? I don't believe that shit for a second. I don't believe that shit for a second. Do you?
I don't know. You know, I'm not a historian or a videographer, but I recall watching this in the BBC. I mean, I've seen several documentaries with the same exact footage about this incident in Hitler's bunker, and it's Soviet footage, I believe. And it's like, and I think there's probably even like American war footage as well, because this was something that they were very concerned about, right? Where's this guy's body? Is it destroyed? Are the remains dispersed because it can't become some kind of political landmark in the future of Germany? And so I don't know, but I do believe that lady killed her kids. And I believe that kind of illustrates
but you don't believe you don't believe anything else that the news tells you. So why would you believe that from the mainstream media?
Why would I believe?
Especially considering it's war propaganda. You know that it's war propaganda, so why would you fucking believe it for a second?
Well, I mean, if that's the case, then I should just burn my library. If I can't believe anything I read without using my own critical thinking skills and putting it in historical context, I should just burn the books or refuse to look at the video footage. And then I don't have any problems, right?
I'm just saying that you know that's what I mean. You know that this is some kind of a propaganda piece. You know that it is a war propaganda piece, and you know that those are historically have been used just garbage.
Well, let me rephrase that. I've never heard that point has been contested before.
Okay, so, but there's a lot of points that don't get contested, and it's because people don't. It's because the mainstream media, to the spoils go the victor. The people who win the wars write the history books. Not
right,
you know.
And that's why I always reference organizations like Project Censored and Our Hidden History. You know, those sites that specific. That's why that's kind of my forte. But what I'm explaining to you is that if there's an argument that's going on and you're a judge in a debate and you're assessing the arguments between the affirmative and the negative, you look at the evidence until the evidence is presented, correct? But then if you can't just say, well, I don't think that evidence is right, unless you can provide a counter site or some kind of an argument, you know, with evidence to indicate that that is a propaganda film or that it was used in a specific way as a propaganda tool, like a historical fact that's real but used in a certain manner. Because from everything I understand, that actually is real. But the point about it is that the bigger point, instead of discrediting the story, is how much children were revered in the Third Reich, right? Which also was anti-Semitic, just like America's kind of anti-Islamic and a little bit anti-Semitic, if you've noticed, both. So, and very kind of like Protestant. And I believe the USA has, as of right now in the industrialized world, the largest percentage of people who self-identify as Protestants or Christians in the world, way more than in Europe. After World War II, Europeans had a tendency to not really believe in God as much more atheist, many more atheists and many more like agnostics in Europe. People who don't go to church and aren't really freaked out about religion. Not like this place, not where we live. Even if you don't believe in those things, most of the people around you do. That's kind of always freaked me out as a non-believer, right? Knowing that the other people believe things that are just, as far as I'm concerned, absurd.
Flying spaghetti monster.
Yeah, you're walking around with people who believe that teacups are like going around Venus or something in an orbit, an elliptical orbit, and they base all of their life on where the teacup is going to be and what it means, and reading the tea leaves and the ruins to ascertain what the fuck is going on. Reading a book that's like 3,000 years old to try and figure out what's going on today, as though people don't have any moral judgment themselves. Give me a break.
Yeah, I hear you. And they just use the religious text to suit them. It's not as if they live their lives. It's not as if every choice, any of their choices that they're making, would they say, what would Jesus do? I've said this again and again about when they talk about giving health care to illegal aliens. You ask, what would Jesus do? It's simple, right? I mean, this isn't a difficult decision if you're actually a Christian, is it?
Well, I think that Jesus would think twice about forcing a 15-year-old girl to have a baby who lives in a poor rural area, who has no family support to speak of, to raise that kid by herself without any assistance from the state and without very much choice in the matter. That is just barbaric. I don't think Jesus would like that very much, punishing a young woman like that or a girl.
Yeah, I don't, again. Yeah. I don't know why it keeps coming back to abortion, man, but...
Yeah, I was just going to say that movie Jesus Camp from 2006.
No, I know of it, but I know of it, but I have not watched it.
It's an amazing film. It's got the lawyer who does, I think he does Ring of Fire on RT's program. He's he's a lawyer, and he narrates the film. But the film
is that Lionel? Is that Lionel?
No, not Lionel. I think his name is like Mike Pompano or Mike Pompano or something like that.
Okay, yeah, I know
he's a lawyer from Florida.
Yeah,
he's a pretty good guy. And the documentary goes through this entire year with these 2 or 3 different groups of kids who are living in Christian families whose parents are taking them to activist activities that are like anti-abortion rallies. And they're kind of getting them excited and getting them geared for this big rally that they're going to in Washington, D.C.
Mm-hmm.
And the movie just builds up throughout the entire movie the emotion that these 8, 9, 12-year-old children are having as they firmly believe that people who have abortions are murdering people, just like Greta Thunberg. But they take these feelings as children and then they just direct them and they teach them how to be public speakers, so that they can stand in public and just fiercely argue their points. I guess it is free speech, but it is also a bizarre form of indoctrination because these kids are not allowed to see other points of view.
And again, this is what I was talking about with Michael, is this programming thing, and I mean, I've seen it from the time I was 5 years old at the very least, and that's that again, this is trying to make this amazing, inventive, wild child fit into a square peg. And that seems like all that society has been, all this Western, American society has tried to do with me from day one, is fit me into the goddamn square peg so that we can move on, and I hate it. I don't like it, and I fought against it every fucking step of the way since I was 5.
I don't like it either, and I describe it as being an anti-authoritarian, and that's how I've described it. Mm-hmm. And I think about 5 or 10% of the population naturally has an innate kind of resistance to authority, and I've seen it. I kind of believe that as well. But this ties into one of the things I wanted to speak with you about, one of the essays I found. And this is from the Australian journalist Caitlin Johnstone. She's very good. She's an anti-war, anti-imperialist. She writes, she's a popular writer. The article is from her website, CaitlinJohnstone.com. It's called "The Cost of Sanity in This Society is a Certain Level of Alienation." And in the essay, what she's saying is that we are programmed, just like you're saying. But then she says, one of the ways that in a way alienating yourself or isolating yourself, like when you spend hours and hours of time pursuing your hobby, your passion, when you record videos and you post them for all of us to see, that in the process of doing that, you are participating, but you've kind of alienated yourself away from everybody else, i.e., you're not at a demonstration, you're not in a meeting organizing people, and so forth. And that's what this article is about. And there was one thing I wanted to share. This is a quote, all right? Bear with me. I'm sorry, but please. It goes, there's a general consensus that the news reporters on our screens paint a more or less accurate picture of world affairs. There are a lot of bad guys in our world with whom the good guys in our government are fighting, and that most of our nation's problems are caused by the people in the other political party. This consensus is grounded in delusion. It is insanity. In reality, of course, we live in a world where our understanding of the world is constantly being deceitfully manipulated by oligarchic media propaganda and the utterances of oligarchic-owned politicians, where elections are mostly just a live-action role-playing game, which allows the rabble to pretend they have some degree of influence over the things that their government does, where our government routinely forms alliances with the worst bad guys on the planet, while manufacturing consent to topple governments whose downfall would be utterly disastrous, where our nation's problems have almost nothing to do with half its population disagreeing with our personal ideology, and practically everything to do with loose international alliance of plutocrats and government agencies who actually run things behind the facade of the comings and goings of officially elected governments. Sanity, what it means to be sane, means seeing this as it is, rather than subscribing to the mass delusion of the consensus worldview, which, as you probably already know, can make it difficult to relate to other people in some ways. Conversations about politics often either get heated very rapidly when you challenge a tightly held orthodoxy, or dead end in awkwardness. Friendships end. Family relationships can be ruined. Collective narratives about your personality, how people see you. In other words, people calling you a dick or something can be woven and circulated within your social circle, which have nothing to do with how you actually see things. All right, I'll stop there. But I wanted to share that, Mox, because what she's talking about is how does a human being cope with living in this world where we're constantly lied to, where we're being manipulated by the duopoly, the two political parties, where we're being impoverished by the super rich people. And on a certain level, you have to protect yourself. And to protect yourself means, maybe not interact with people that you think you might get in a fight with, right?
I think protecting yourself means a lot of different things. You have to, I don't know that you have to protect yourself, honestly. I think that that's part of the programming, that you somehow, there's something that you need to be protected from, that you have to be protected from life. What we need to be is open, and what the programming does is closes us off to where we believe that we fit in this square peg, and that we only want to associate with other people who fit in the square peg.
Yeah, and there are a lot of people who have bought into this program that if you're not fitting into the square peg, then you probably have a problem and should either be in jail or just not exist.
Right. It's not just that. We're just better off without you being in our general vicinity. So we're going to act like what you're saying. Because you not fitting in, you causing waves, you being, having a different political opinion makes it so that I'm not comfortable. So I have to. I just have to not invite you to our parties anymore.
This bizarre code of civility.
It's, people, they look, if you're going to some party and, everybody, you just want to talk about 9/11, you're going to maybe put a bad vibe on the party, you know. But you know what I mean? So it's. And if people just want to party and don't want to think about 9/11, but there should be people there that want to talk about that too. So whatever, but you know what I mean. I get it, but at the same time, you have to you have to be true to yourself. You have to believe in you. You have to be you and not conform and not fit into that square peg because once you get into that peg, it's really hard to get back out of it.
Later on in that essay, she does talk about not like authenticity of self, but about well, I guess that is what it was. She does talk about authenticity of self, but the reason why she wrote the essay is because a lot of people are experiencing what they call cognitive dissonance. In other words, when you're in public, like and you're at a dinner party, or you're in a restaurant, or you're at a cafe, or you're in a social setting, and you're talking with other people, you can pretty much be assured if you're one of those 5 to 10% of the people who are anti-authoritarians that like 75% of the people you're going to interact with are going to be willingly accepting the current political system that we live in, our economic system and our electoral political system. They're just going to buy right into it. So if you know that that is false and you go into public and you interact with those people, yes, you should be yourself. I agree wholeheartedly. But at the same time, if you want to maintain any relationships with any people without offending them because they're so narrow in their kind of orthodox thinking, then you're going to have to self-censor a little bit and learn how to do that. And that's what creates this cognitive dissonance, when you have to lie to yourself because you know that something is true, but at the same time you have to interact in society. That's the conundrum.
Well, and again, that's what I have been saying, that that's the way that I felt from the time I was 5 years old, is that people are telling me that I have to self-censor and I have to be this and I have to be that. And I mean, I guess it's a lot easier if you buy into that. But the last thing that
we need better schools too. Did you ever hear of Summerhill, the school Summerhill?
I don't, that doesn't ring a bell.
Summerhill was a school founded in 1921 in England by A.S. Neal. He's a very famous educator, and he had a boarding school. And during World War I, he had these kids that had to leave Austria. He took them to England. He had an opportunity to create this situation where he could do experimental education with them. And while he was there, he created this school. And I'll just describe it to you because I think it'd be a place that you would really like. And if you and Craig have some time, there's a really good movie, like a full-length movie about Summerhill, a fictional movie that is really good. But this is the description of the school. It's a British boarding school that was founded in 1921 by A.S. Neal with the belief that school should be made to fit the child instead of the other way around. It's run as a democratic community. The running of the school is conducted in the school meetings, which anyone, staff, or pupil may attend, at which everyone has an equal vote. That's from age 5 to 18. These meetings serve as both a legislative and judicial body. Members of the community are free to do as they please, so long as their actions do not cause any harms to others, according to A.S. Neal's principle, freedom, not license. This extends to the freedom for pupils to choose which lessons, if any, they attend, and it is an example of democratic education and alternative education. I've known about this for about 25 years, and I've read his biography and also his book, Summerhill. And it's an amazing place, Mox, because these kids show up there and they have discipline problems, but it's a private boarding school. And as soon as they show up there, they don't have to attend any classes.
Yeah.
If they want to sit in their dorm room and just like play with like a game or something, they can do that. They're not going to have any social interaction. And then gradually they kind of get brought into the entire community. And then the whole school is run by a democratic council they have once a week. So like if a 6-year-old kid says like, hey, that 8-year-old messed with my lunch money.
Yeah.
Everybody in the room, all the adults, all the 4-year-olds, the 12-year-olds, all have a meeting and discuss what anybody wants to discuss in that room. It's really amazing.
It sounds awesome.
Summerhill.
Yeah, it sounds like that. I bet they produce some very interesting people.
Yeah, a lot of people who are free and who have and his idea is that children will learn when they want to learn at the right pace that they want to learn. So, like, if a 6-year-old doesn't want to learn how to read, it doesn't mean that his experience is invalidated. It just means that the instructors have to kind of find a way to encourage the student to read. So, like, if they're interested in astronomy, you might say, you can learn more about these stars if you learn how to read a book, and then use that as an incentive to get them to learn how to read and incorporate that into their interest, instead of saying, you're going to sit in a classroom and we're going to go through reading for the next 6 years, reading, like that.
No, it's so important for little young people to feel like what they think matters. It's so important, and I think that it doesn't matter. For a lot of people that are very, very busy in the world, and we got to get this, and we got 30 children to take care of, and blah 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 blah. So fast that what a kid thinks doesn't matter. But if you're taught that what you think is of value, that we're going to create a whole different world by teaching children that way, because that's not, again, that has not been my experience, and I just think it would have made it such a huge difference if I had an experience like that. So
I was pretty lucky in terms of like teachers that influenced me in places that I was. Where, I wasn't lucky every year, but I was pretty lucky all 4 years through high school and the 2 years, 7th and 8th grade, and about 3 of the years in elementary school, where I had pretty good teachers, people who were concerned about their students, and I would give them like an A, a good grade. So I guess it's but at the same time, I am an anti-authoritarian like you, and I hate hypocrisy. I really hate hypocrisy the most. There were 2 pot stories, real quick. One, and this is from Normal. New Jersey cannabis consumers seek relief before the 2020 elections, and there are people in the legislature in New Jersey right now who are demanding that they change the laws quickly before legalization even occurs, because of the amount of people who are being arrested in New Jersey. And apparently, like a couple hundred people or 100 people are being arrested every day for marijuana convictions.
Fucking unbelievable,
and they wanted,
man.
Yeah, and I didn't, this again. It's not.
And the people have voted again and again in that state to legalize, and they're still arresting 100 people a day. That's who the fucking cops represent.
Yeah, this is. It says Garden State Normal consumers across New Jersey are calling on legislators to find an immediate solution to stop arresting 100 people per day for possessing small amounts of marijuana. They're spending millions to put handcuffs on consumers, the same people who are expected to come out to the polls and vote for a constitutional amendment. They want to try what the goal is to get it decriminalized to a $25 to $100 fine with no criminal, provision as a stopgap until it gets legalized. Although they should just legalize it, but that's what they're calling decriminalization. It's a fine between $25 and $100.
And that's what most politicians call decriminalization. So when you hear somebody talking about decriminalization, make sure you understand what it is that they're saying, because most of the time they're not saying, take the laws off it. What they're saying is that they just make it less illegal.
Which is why I think this concept of decriminalization plus legalization, right? So that there is a marketplace. Because I'm a frickin' socialist, right? I don't like the marketplace, but it exists. And since it exists, let the substance be sold on the marketplace. But if you don't have penalties for it, no fines, then that is what I would consider to be real decriminalization.
Yeah, me too.
Definition of the word. So they say, meanwhile, under the antiquated policy of absolute criminal prohibition, New Jersey has seen a record number of arrests for cannabis. This is from this week. According to recent data by the ACLU New Jersey, marijuana possession arrests have risen 35%, and this is since these other states are legalizing too. 35% in just 4 years. Racial disparities in these arrests are striking in many urban communities. Some towns see black and brown residents enduring 11 times the arrest rate for marijuana than their white counterparts. So there you go. They're still making money off of poor people, even though it's
go ahead.
Even though it's culturally acceptable to smoke marijuana, they're still in New Jersey, making money off of poor people, putting them through the criminal justice system.
And this is
and
what. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I'm listening, Mark.
And this is what Bernie Sanders said again and again during the 2016 election, is that marijuana being illegal is institutionalized racism. Okay? Because they do arrest black people way more at a much higher rate than they do the white person counterpart. And it's just disgusting that they're arresting anyone or fining anyone. The people of New Jersey have voted to make this legal, right?
I don't know if they have or not. I don't think that they have.
I know that they voted. I know that they voted to make medical marijuana legal, and I'm pretty sure that they voted to make recreational marijuana illegal. Legal. Excuse me. So I think, and this is the way the police state works. They see, oh, this is our one last push. And this is my big fear of a federal legalization of marijuana, is that they'll say, okay, we're legalizing marijuana federally, but so everyone who doesn't have a federal marijuana permit has to shut down their stores immediately. So that will mean, because this is the way they did the medical marijuana when they do the legalization, they go, all the stores that don't have permits have to shut down, and then it's like 2 years before there's any fucking federal legalization stores. It's a bunch of bullshit, and that's the biggest problem with legalization, I think. Go ahead.
I wanted to compliment you on your light. I watched that video that you made this weekend, and I did have an herb question for you. So that you said it was a 4,000 watt bulb. Is that correct?
No, it pulls from the wall. It pulls like 400 watts.
Okay.
They say that it replaces a 1,000 watt bulb. So if you're like looking at like a metal halide bulb, the light that I just did an unboxing for would replace a 1,000 watt metal halide light.
Halogen bulb.
Yeah.
So the other question is one of the things that I've been kind of afraid of about growing, and maybe I'm a pansy. I mean, I know there's growers in the chat and such, but it's the ballast and the electricity, right?
Mm-hmm.
So with the light that you purchased, is it literally just plug it into the wall and there's a small like ballast on the back of the light? And the second question is does it get hot? Because it's LED lights, I'd assume that it doesn't get hot like a big sodium or a big halogen light or halide light.
It gets a little bit hot, like I think probably if you put your hand right under the lights or right on top of the metal part, it would be somewhere between 90 and 100 degrees if it's running for a long period of time.
So that decreases your need for ventilation, right? I mean, you still have that ventilation.
Yeah, especially during the summer, you're going to want to have some ventilation.
But not as much as like a really hot light, right?
Yeah, but I think it won't. I don't think it will be as hot as like a metal halide light, like an actual bulb light. Right. And it doesn't have any and this light doesn't have any fans. A lot of the lights that emit the amount of light that this light emits has all kinds of fans and different bells and whistles and stuff. This one just has and all that is a draw on electricity too. So this one's just it's supposed to be the most efficient light. And the people at the Spider Farmer, my contact there, she said that was the best unboxing video she's ever seen, and that she loved the Christmas theme. So yay!
It was good. Another marijuana story, and this one you probably already know this, but this came out on December 5th of this month. Again from Normal, it says daily cannabis use, like you encourage us to do, eat your butter every day. Daily cannabis use among pain patients associated with less non-prescription opioid use. And it says, a team of investigators from Canada and the United States assessed drug use trends in chronic pain patients over a multi-year period from June 2014 to December 2017, the authors reported an independent negative association between frequent cannabis use and frequent illicit opioid use. Specifically, subjects who consume cannabis daily had, quote, 50% lower odds of using illicit opioids every day as compared to cannabis non-users, end quote. Investigators did not identify a similarly significant association between occasional cannabis use and daily non-prescription opioid use. They concluded, quote, the findings provide longitudinal observational evidence that cannabis may serve as an adjunct to or substitute for illicit opiate use among people who use drugs with chronic pain. These findings are consistent with those of prior studies such as Here, Here, and Here, and there's 3 links in the story, reporting that pain patients reduce their use of opioids following the initiation of medical cannabis therapy. So there it is, right there. If you eat a little bit of marijuana or if you consume some marijuana every day, you're going to be less likely, 50% less likely to use opioids to control pain.
Well, again, cannabis. If you need to get off of something like opioids or almost any substance, cigarettes. Like we played the clip last week of Willie Nelson saying that he was smoking 4 packs a day and he rolled a joint and he never smoked another cigarette. So if you need to get off a substance, marijuana is a gateway drug. It's the gateway out. Okay, so and truthfully, there's just all these cannabinoid receptors throughout the body, all over the brain. I honestly believe that the reason that there's this huge epidemic of dementia and Alzheimer's in our society is because the brain is at least partially fueled on cannabinoids. And the simplest way to get those is from cannabis, and the government has made it illegal. It's just meant, whether we're wearing it or fueling our cars on it or building our clothes out of it or using it as medicine or using it for recreation or whatever else, so many other things that we don't even know because it's been taken from us.
The chemical industries, the pharmaceutical industries, the oil industries aren't very encouraged about competition, and they like to fix markets. Like they do everywhere.
Right. Well, like I said,
that's what they did in the 30s.
And like I said, you don't have to be a stoner, but regardless if you are or not, whether we're wearing it, fueling our cars with it, building our homes out of it, cannabis is meant to be a daily part of humans' lives. And making it illegal has been one of the greatest crimes against humanity of all time. So we're clear.
Something that shouldn't be a part of everyday people's reality is black tar heroin. And there's this article I found from Newser.com, and this is interesting, right? Nobody has died from smoking like 2 or 3 ounces of herb in a day. If they start at 6 in the morning and they just chain smoke until midnight, nobody's died, right? But black tar heroin is not necessarily the same. This is an article that says flesh-eating bacteria killed 7 people in San Diego, and bacteria is linked to the injection of black tar heroin. Yeah. And this is from the 5th of December. It says 7 people in San Diego County have been killed by flesh-eating bacteria since the beginning of October, and health officials say the outbreak is linked to the use of black tar heroin. Black tar heroin is the sticky like roofing tar or hard like coal with a dark color resulting from crude processing methods that leave behind impurities. The National Institute on Drug Abuse and the county's chief public health officer said in a statement that those who inject it are more likely at risk of myonecrosis caused by flesh-eating bacteria, as well as wound botulism and death by overdose. 2 others were hospitalized with myonecrosis between October 2nd and November 24th. So there you go. 7 people have died in San Diego from flesh-eating bacteria.
Yeah, and you'll find in the states where they've legalized marijuana that deaths from opioid overdoses drop by like 50%. So, or 50% less, the stats on opioid epidemics per capita. So, marijuana is really the key. And again, I mean, if Donald Trump really wanted to make a booming economy in the United States, he would simply legalize cannabis nationwide, and that would create like 10 million new jobs. Boom. So, but whatever.
There was another story, really quick. This one was from it was from a conservative site called SARAA Carter, sarahcarter.com. But the story is what is interesting. Barack Obama buys $11.7 million mansion in Martha's Vineyard.
Huh.
And there's a photograph of it. If you type that in, Obama $11 million mansion, you'll find it. And it's on a point overlooking Hyannis Port, the Atlantic Ocean over there. And there was one, and it's kind of gross. I mean, it talks about how the article that I'm reading talks about how great capitalism is. But I wanted to share this last paragraph because this is that attitude that, like Caitlin Johnson is saying, you might want to alienate yourself from this way of thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the kind of thinking that she wants to alienate herself from. And this is a quote. In 2016, former President Obama said that him and his wife managed to pay in full their student loans only 1 year before entering the White House. Here's the video of that. Fast forward to 2019, and seems that now the Obamas are worth 40 plus more times than they were before they entered the White House. Congratulations, Mr. President. Only in a capitalist system and only in America would you have been able to thrive the way that you did.
Yeah.
All right? Well, let's do some things, a little thinking here, right? Okay, Obama and his wife are both corporate lawyers who graduated from Harvard Law School. She was like on corporate boards when he was in the state Senate even. And he was basically appointed to the United States Senate by the Democratic machine in Illinois. So, that being the case, like as soon as after he became president, his wealth increased 40 times, and that's a good thing because of corruption. Wow. That's not free, Mike. That's not being free, you know?
I just hate seeing again this whole thing, with the wars and everything, and no accountability, and then he gets rewarded on top of that to get 40 times more money than he ever thought he'd have. It's just I really am disgusted, by the American government and by the American political system, and I know that I'm not alone, and that's why we have to see the Democrats and the Republicans as the same. Because they're equally disgusting, and they're just not, this system is just against the people. They act like somehow that it's representative of the people, but there's no one being representative. I don't know. I mean, I know that I'm not being represented by anyone, and I find it, and I don't know who is. I mean, I get why Dwayne, wants to, gravitate towards these Republicans, because then it feels like at least you're being represented by someone, because they're going to fight for at least this one issue that matters to you. And it'd be really nice if I felt like someone was fighting for something that mattered to me. Although this is why I get behind a candidate like Tulsi Gabbard right away when she says things like every American needs to stand for 9/11 truth, and we got to stop these wars and the warmongers on both sides. That's, you got to love it when somebody's actually saying the warmongers on both sides love these endless wars, because nobody talks about both sides. For everyone else, it's just like the other guys are bad. No, it's the ones on both sides that are bad, and nobody calls it out like that. And it's really, and that's why I get behind somebody like Tulsi Gabbard. Go ahead.
There was a really good article posted yesterday at TruthDig by Chris Hedges, and the title of the article was called "The Great American Shakedown." And he goes through and he basically he deconstructs the Democratic Party, and he goes through an entire list of all of the ways that Bill Clinton and the Democrats from 1992 on all the way to this moment in time, everything they did to abandon us. And and what the consequences of that were. By fucking everything up, and by the Democrats not actually acting as the party of the people, which is what they advertise themselves as, they created a big problem. And this is a quote. He says, this is from Hedges. He says, "The problem is not messaging. The problem is the messenger. The mortal wounds inflicted on our democratic institutions are bipartisan. The traditional Republican elites are as hated as the Democratic elites. Donald Trump is vile, imbecilic, corrupt, and incompetent. But for a largely white working class, cast aside by austerity and neoliberalism, he at least taunts the elites who destroyed their communities and lives." And he calls this impeachment hearing a shakedown of American democracy. He says the shakedown that Trump clumsily attempted to orchestrate against the president of Ukraine in hope of discrediting Joe Biden, a potential rival in 2020, pales besides the shakedown orchestrated by the elites who rule over America's working men and women. The shakedown took from those workers their hope and their hope for their children. It took their security and sense of place and dignity. It took from them a voice about how they are governed. It took from them their country and handed it to a cabal of global corporatists who intend to turn them into serfs. The shakedown plunged Americans into despair, led them to self-destructive opioid, alcohol, drug, gambling addictions. It led to increases in suicide, mass shootings, and hate crimes. The shakedown led to bizarre conspiracy theories and fabrications peddled by a neo-fascist right wing, deceptions bolstered by lies by those tasked with keeping the society rooted in truth and verifiable fact. The shakedown led to the end of the rule of law and the destruction of democratic institutions that, if they had continued to function, could have prevented the rise to power of a demagogue like Trump. In other words, if Bernie Sanders had been allowed to win the Democratic primary in 2016, like the people in the Democratic Party wanted him to do, things could have been different. They fucked it up.
I agree 100%. I mean, and I love Chris Hedges. Let me just say that I've always enjoyed his work.
He's a good writer.
And that's one of the things about this impeachment deal too, is that the Democrats today, when they were talking about impeachment, and I have the clip here ready to play if you guys want me to play it, but when the Democrats were talking about impeachment, they were saying that if they don't try and impeach Donald Trump now, then it will be as if they're just allowing Donald Trump to cheat in another election, right? And the simple facts are, we know that the truth is the Democrats are the ones who cheated in the last election to try and force Hillary Clinton down the throats of the American people, the Democratic voters who did not want her. And in doing so, they're the ones who got Donald Trump elected, not the Russians. And Donald Trump, you know, whether or not he cheated in the election is still kind of fuzzy. I don't see how he cheated in the election. Everybody just said negative things about him. And, you know, so
if anybody influenced Donald Trump, it was like Sheldon Adelson.
Yeah,
like,
right.
It was
right, exactly.
Or like corporate banks or something.
Yeah.
And about all this Russia influence, like why in the world should Microsoft or Amazon or Intel have as much influence on you know, as like say the Russian government? I mean, I don't necessarily think corporate influence is good in American politics either. And that's what Hedges was talking about, is like, and that's what Caitlin Johnson was talking about, Johnstone. The point here is that we live in a police state, like you said, like, and they live, you know, it is a police state.
Yeah.
And it is an authoritarian government of sorts. It's got a smiley face on it, and I do believe inherently in human freedom.
It's not got a smiley face on it so much as it's got the stars and stripes on it and freedom painted across it, you know. Go ahead.
If you live in a middle-class subdivision, it has a smiley face on it. If you live in a ghetto in Baltimore or in Philadelphia or in Oakland, it probably doesn't have a smiley face on it. So in America, you get a smiley face based on your income. The wealthier you are, the less you have to endure the tyranny of the state, the iron fist.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
It always works.
It's always...
and
go ahead.
And that's about it. I didn't mean to interrupt you. That's about it.
Good.
But the last one, Mox, I know I talk a lot. The last one and I just wanted to share this because I didn't hear this anywhere until the end of the night, and I'll leave it at this. And it's a scary one. It's not good news, unfortunately. It's from the Daily Mail, British newspaper, and the title of the article from today is, oh fuck, just bad news. New poll shows Hillary Clinton in first place among Democratic candidates days after former Secretary of State refused to rule out last-minute entry into presidential race. Hillary Clinton would be leading the race for the Democratic nomination for president if she declared her candidacy, according to a new poll by Harris Poll, which was released by Harvard University Center for American Political Studies, shows the former Secretary of State in first place with 21% of the vote. Joe Biden, the current frontrunner, would receive 20% of the vote, while Bernie Sanders would receive 12% of the vote. Elizabeth Warren would receive 9% of the vote. Michael Bloomberg would receive 7% of the vote. The poll surveyed 1,859 voters between November 27 and November 29. If Clinton stayed out of the race, Biden maintains his advantage. Last week, Clinton refused to completely rule out a late entry, but during media appearances in Britain last month, she twice hinted that she could still make a late entry into the field. So I know those are polls, and I know they're meant to manipulate people, but when you see them in the news, you know that it's conditioning the public to realize that they could fucking throw Hillary Clinton into the race like in a month or a month and a half, or even in the next couple weeks.
No. This is just bullshit. Okay, this is the same bullshit like with fucking, I mean, look, Hillary Clinton is not going to put herself in a position to get beat twice by Donald Trump. Okay, number one.
Oh, because of her ego.
Yeah.
Her ego.
That would completely shatter her fucking ego. Okay. Number two, this is how they act like that. See, she's still in doing this. She acts as if she still has the clout to be the president of the United States, but she doesn't. She's a two-time loser in that poll. Okay, so
it adds credibility to her donors and all of her political operatives too, right?
Right.
Because they can point to the polls. I used to work for Hillary Clinton, and if she ran again, she'd be at like number one. So maybe you should hire me as we go into the primaries.
That's the discussion. And again, the way that they set these polls up is they call what they call likely voters, and the way you're a likely voter is they say, did you vote in the last election? And but this is a poll about the Democrats, so you would have had to have voted Democrat in the last election, which means you voted for Hillary Clinton already to be president, which means you're a fucking brain dead Kool-Aid drinker. And it says, and 12% of the people would vote for Bernie Sanders, which is probably the same exact percentage of Bernie voters in the last election that went to vote for Hillary after Bernie said go vote for Hillary. 12%. That's probably the total amount of support that she got from Bernie Sanders voters, which again proves this thing about if the Democrats had just fucking listened to the people and got behind Bernie, Donald Trump would not be in the White House right now.
Well, that's what Chris Hedges thinks, and other people, Ralph Nader.
Yeah.
Other people believe that too. The fact that the Democratic
I got a video that's got 1 million+ views on it of fucking Michael Moore saying those exact words. If the Democrats had listened to the voters and picked Bernie Sanders to be the nominee, Donald Trump would not be president right now.
Which is why they never deserve your vote ever again.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
All right.
And then they say this shit about how Donald Trump cheated in the election, and we all know that it was them who cheated in the election, the DNC and fucking Debbie Wasserman Shorts and fucking Donna Brazile, fucking bullshit with the CNN, fucking debates. It was all a fucking scam, and their goddamn elite fucking super delegates bullshit. Fuck those people. Yeah.
A lot of people were disappointed when Barack Obama put Hillary Clinton in his cabinet.
Yeah, of course.
You know, I mean, and you know, there was, and also like the support from the Clinton team for the Obama team in the general election. Those were like some telltales right there.
Yeah.
About the beginning of, I mean, the man was sold out before, you know, the whole time.
Yeah.
You know, he was.
Yeah.
But that really proved it, I think, to the American public.
Yeah.
And of course, picking Joe Biden also indicated that he was appealing to the center.
Right.
So even if Elizabeth Warren right now, who is the candidate who I think is the one that's most likely to make it through all the hoops, because she can appeal to, she can kind of appeal to the Sanders people, and she can kind of appeal to the Buttigieg people, all right, and some of the Biden people. But that, and I mean, I don't know, a lot of those people are corporate. But what will happen is if she wins in the general election and isn't like Mike Bloomberg or something, then in the summertime before the election, she will drift to the right. Like it'll be noticeable.
Yeah, she's a Republican. She's not a fucking liberal. She's a fucking Republican.
No. But with the identity politics, presenting herself as the woman who can, like that, and I have no problem. I voted for Jill Stein. I think that's great. But she'll present herself that way as a selling point. And then also her association with Obama, she'll use that, you know, and she'll get Obama's endorsement. I mean, all kinds of things are going to happen after the convention, but I see it like that because I don't see, even though I kind of wish Bernie Sanders would be the candidate, or I could just be completely fucking wrong. I'm not going to vote for him, but I could be completely wrong. He could have a mass swelling of support, and it just might not be reflected in the polls. We'll find out. In Iowa, we'll probably find out if that's true. I hope it is, but I don't suspect it is.
Yeah. All right, Chris. Well, it's good to hear from you, man.
Yeah, good to hear from you. Have a good night.
All right, thanks for calling. Thanks for adding to the show.
Yeah, thank you. Peace.
It's always better when Chris is here. It's always better when all you guys are here. Thanks so much for tuning in. This would be meaningless without you. So I don't want to talk to that guy. Okay, so it would be meaningless without you, and I'm really glad when you guys get here. I just it fills my heart. It's like, okay, I'm doing something worthwhile. There's people here, so thanks so much for that. Mox News survives solely on contributions from good people like you. So if you want to see Mox News continuing on for another day, please give something back if you can, because again, that's the only reason Mox News is still here, is because of good people like you. So help Mox keep up the good fight. Okay, so we'll be back tomorrow. Same Mox time, same Mox channel. 7 p.m. Pacific time. We'll do it till whenever. We're doing it Monday through Friday. Thanks so much for tuning in. It's like I said, it's always nicer when you're here. Stay cool Wednesdays. This war is going to end. Stay cool until that day, okay?
No matter which mouth you feed on a two-headed snake, it still shits the same turd. But lucky for you, you have Mox News. More than 10 years. More than 60,000 videos. Mox News has been filtering the nonsense and illuminating the bullshit from your mainstream media. Turn off your TV and turn on to Mox News. For over a decade, documenting the socio-political events that have etched and carved the pathways that define today's modern mess, Mox News has been providing clarity while faithfully bringing you today's relevant stories 100% commercial-free and subscription-free. And just like Lady Liberty vows to remain free. But at this time, we're asking you for your help, your patronage, and your support to keep the lights on and the videos rolling. For less than 17 cents per day, you can become a basic subscriber, knowing that your donation is truly making a difference that will help continue bringing the news stories that make a difference in your life. Turn on, tune in, and drop a couple dimes today by clicking the link below or visiting moxnews.com and show your support at any level. From a single one-time donation or dedicated monthly subscriber, do it now in less than 2 minutes. All donations are safe, securely processed, and verified using PayPal, Visa, MasterCard, American Express, or Discover Card. As always, we're sure you'll find something of interest each and every day. This holiday season, give the gift of Mox. MoxNews.com.